Chapter 220. In the live broadcast room of Songqing TV station, the host Fang Juexiao couldn't help but praise, "This match is really wonderful. I haven't had such a fierce fight for a long time. Gan, I see that Lu Qing is in pain and has been retching. How much do you think he is affected by the concussion?" Gan Lu sighed, his body refinement is close to the peak. If it wasn't for the fact that he felt extremely uncomfortable and couldn't control his body, he wouldn't have displayed the appearance of retching. So I originally thought quite highly of him. I thought that as long as he could pass Zhou Jingxuan's test, with that abnormal physical strength of his, he would have a great chance of beating Hou. So serious? Fang Juexiao asked even though he already knew the answer. He knew that the audience watching the live broadcast would definitely be very concerned about this. Even the students watching the live broadcast would probably check the forum and watch the live broadcast intermittently to understand Lu Cheng's current situation from their explanations. Gan Lu nodded as a mighty one of the dance stage, shattering many people's expectations. Yes, very serious. Fang Juexiao made a regretful expression. Unfortunately, there is no time to talk to let him recover. Well, Hou is about to enter the ring. Let's switch back to the scene. After listening to the analysis of the two commentators, Yan Xiaoling's heart tightened. She hurriedly posted a post in the BBS and tagged "Unparalleled Dragon King" and "Road to the Arena. Come out quickly. Is our Lu Qing serious?" Unparalleled Dragon King replied with a sighing emoji, "Can my vision and judgment be better than a mighty one of the dance stage? My judgment is the same as that of the commentators. Lu Qing is greatly affected and his physical condition is very bad." "Road to the Arena," answered seriously. Brahmin sent an emoji of holding back tears. "What should I do? I want to cry so much." "Don't cry. Let's cheer for Lu Qing together." Yan Xiaoling quickly gathered her strength. With tears in her eyes, she bit her lips and clenched her fists, looking at the live broadcast nervously and expectantly. In the martial arts arena of Songqing University, although Li Liantong and others didn't check the BBS or listen to the commentary, when they saw Lu Cheng's painful performance through the big screen, they still felt an inexplicable concern and bad premonition. How is he? Is he injured? Would they lose the next match? The excited shouts that had erupted because of Zhou Jingxuan's fall had quieted down. Many of the female students, including Fan Yanxi, had put on a praying posture, their hands covering their mouths. "Come on, Lu Qing." In the seats of the home team, Yan Zhika walked to the stone steps, ignoring the gazes of others. She bit her lower lip with her pearly white teeth, looking distressed and worried. Her hands were clenched into fists. In the arena, Lu Qing recovered a little. He had no time to review, reflect, or be annoyed. He suppressed all kinds of emotions first. He concealed his spirit and qi, visualized the thundercloud, wriggled his abdomen, and seized the little time to use the internal training method to adjust the state of his body. Every bit of recovery counted. Energy was not completely independent of the body. It was also rooted in the state of the body. Like a person who caught a cold, not only was he tired and weak, but also his thinking was slow. When Lu Qing was so affected, his spirit was naturally weakened, and he didn't have the ability to use the severe warning again. Later he would make a solid defense. He would use his supernatural ability with the help of the Frost Force or simply hide it in his normal moves to exhaust his strength to the limit as soon as possible and squeeze the Jindan. If he fell into a dangerous situation, this would be the only way. Lu Qing quickly made a decision not to admit defeat easily. This was not only because he showed confidence in Ku at the last minute and said bold words, but also because he was carried away and failed to live up to his brother-in-law's efforts and pain. There was also a very important reason. "I want to win. Nothing else, I want to win." He took a breath and his abdomen roared like thunder. When the referee announced the result of the third round, Hou jumped up from his seat and ran to the arena without thinking. He always remembered that before he walked out of the locker room, senior brother Zhou told him to run to the arena immediately without any delay once he heard the announcement of the last round's result. When he got close, he was stunned because he saw his senior brother curled up on the ground like a shrimp. His hair was messy, his expression was painful, and he even vomited a little bile. Is this senior brother Zhou? In Hou's memory, senior brother Zhou Jingquan was a person who paid great attention to appearance and manners. His most worshipped idol was Xian, who played chess calmly after hearing the news of the victory at Fei River. His hair and clothes were always meticulous, and his words and deeds were always calm and gentle. He had lost before, but in rare failures he left the arena gracefully, and was ridiculed by senior sister Zhua and senior sister Li for wanting to be gracious and not get any benefits. But now, senior brother Zhou was so painful and lost his self-control. In order to create a chance for himself to defeat Lu Qing, he even gave up his most valued image. Hou Yu, who was only a few days away from turning 18, was the age when he was most easily moved and excited. Thinking of this, his eyes immediately turned red, and his fighting spirit surged. No matter what he had to pay, no matter how hard he had to fight, he couldn't let senior brother Zhou down. When Hou Yu walked to the stone steps, Zhou Jingquan had been helped down by the staff. When they passed by each other, Zhou Jingquan, with messy hair and a pale face, murmured, "Fight?" Hou Yu nodded hard, clenched his fist and said, "Fight." In the face of such a strong enemy like Lu Qing, how could he win if he didn't fight, no matter how weak and painful he was? If he didn't fight, how could he seize the opportunity when his body was still affected by the shock? Hou Yu stepped into the arena and stood at the position where Zhou Jingquan stood before, hearing the buzzing sound from Lu Qing's body. Lu Qing opened his eyes, exhaled a foul air, and instantly switched from internal training to fighting mode. The referee raised his right hand and waved it down steadily. "Start." Lu Qing, whose calves were still trembling, didn't move. Even if he could move, he wouldn't, because it was not a wise idea to chase a monkey running all over the arena, especially in his current state. And if he was careless, his mood would be affected. The more he fought, the more anxious he would be, and the more serious the problem would become. So he took a breath and calmly observed Hou Yu's every move. He was not only waiting for his opponent's attack, but also seizing the time to recover. The longer the battle lasted, the better it was for him. Hou Yu jumped around Lu Qing with his agile footwork. He took a sudden step forward when he saw the opportunity and rushed to the side of his opponent. Then he turned his waist and twisted the strength of his whole body into one, and punched at his opponent's waist. Lu Qing sat down, straightened his spine, exploded the strength of his shoulders, clenched his fist, and punched down with a whistling sound. Bang! In the muffled sound, both sides shook. Just when Lu Qing thought Hou Yu would take the opportunity to dodge and continue to fight, he saw Hou Yu clench his teeth, widen his eyes, and suddenly put strength in his feet, which made several cracks. "He wants to use the fly-fall punch waterfall to trigger the remaining influence in my body?" Lu Qing instantly understood Hou Yu's plan, but he knew his physical condition was not enough to support this dodge, so he also clenched his teeth, adjusted the corresponding muscles and fascia, wriggled the related viscera, and visualized a vast river. "Who's afraid of you?" Lu Qing, with the courage to risk his life, froze the turbid river, made the waves crystal clear, made the world stand still, and made the muscles of his arms expand, as if he was holding a heavy object, and punched up. Cold current into tight frost force. At this time, Hou Yu also violently clenched his fist and chopped down with the flying fall 3,000 feet. Bang! There was a brief haze at the place where the two fists met, like a thin mist of white frost. Lu Qing's body trembled obviously again, and the muscles of his face twitched uncontrollably. The remaining influence in his body was triggered a lot, which made his previous attempt to recover in vain. Hou Yu kept shivering, his lips turned purple, and his hands and feet were stiff and cold. Thump, thump, thump. His heart beat violently, expanded and contracted quickly, and spurted out a stream of hot blood to dissolve the coldness in his body. Then he made a choice that was contrary to his fighting style and character. Again he visualized the accumulating and rising source, twisted his waist and popped out his arms. Not even half a step back. At the same time, Lu Qing also wriggled his abdomen, visualized the thunder cloud, and made a reverse offset, which was a preliminary relief. Facing Hou Yu's ferocious face and unflinching attack, he had no time to change his visualization, so he had to change his internal training to external attack, tightened his arms and launched the sky cannon. Bang! There seemed to be an explosion in the arena, and the two were rebounded by the impact and each took a step back. Hou Yu used his internal training method. His eyes were red and the shock had yet to dissipate. He stepped on the black bricks and pounced forward again. He fought crazily, forgetting himself, disregarding everything. He fought like he was not himself. At this time, Lu Qing was so uncomfortable that he wanted to lie down directly. He had no time or opportunity to squeeze the Jindan. He could only force himself to take a breath, and with the momentum of all out and fighting, he swung his arm and blasted out a seabed quake. The waterfall flew down and hit the ground. Hou Yu didn't make a downward cut, but clenched his fist diagonally to block Lu Qing's thunder roar zen. Bang! The thunder on the ground shocked the whole audience into silence. The remaining influence in Lu Qing's body was completely detonated. His legs were weak, His qi and blood rushed to his throat, and he fell to the ground with tinnitus and dizziness. Opposite him, Hou, who had been hit by a frost force and 2 tremor punches, also had stiff muscles, trembling joints and rolling qi and blood. He couldn't stand up anymore and suddenly collapsed. After 3 moves in a row, Hou, who was not good at this, and Lu Qing, who was in a bad condition, fell to the ground at the same time. The referee stood beside them, silently counting the time. Li Liantong, Fan Yanxi and other audience members were worried at first, and then they came to themselves. With red eyes they shouted a name in unison, Lu Qing, Lu Qing, Lu Qing, Lu Qing, Lu Qing. In front of the computer screen, Yan Shaoling, Brahmin, and others also shouted this name in a low voice, as if they wanted to give him courage and strength to help him stand up. Lu Qing, Lu Qing. Yan Zhika, Sun Jian and others also shouted loudly with the audience, but one was at the side of the ring and the others were at the seats. Lin Ke subconsciously clenched his fists and stared at the ring. Lu Qing saw Hou fall to the ground from the corner of his eyes, and tried to adjust the condition of his body while he was retching. He tried to visualize the thundercloud to finish one internal training and stand up first. However, even his mind and thoughts were shaking so he couldn't visualize at all. Lu Qing. Lu Qing. Amidst the orderly shouts, a figure struggled to get up. His legs were trembling but he stood firmly. The shouts of the whole arena stopped, and there was an indescribable silence because it was Hou who stood up. Hou's face was pale. He took a deep breath and stepped to Lu Qing's side. Without him doing anything, the referee raised his right hand and announced the result. Round 4, Hou wins. Hearing this, Hou looked back at his own seat, with snot and tears running down his face. Senior brother Zhou, I won. I didn't let you down. Lin Ke loosened his hands and buried his face deep. Li Liantong, Wu Qian, Fan Yanxi, and other students couldn't hold it anymore and tears fell down. He walked so hard but he stopped here? Just a little bit more. Vaguely hearing the judgment, Lu Qing's heart was suddenly filled with pain and annoyance. It's all my fault. I was too complacent. I didn't take the responsibility of this competition. At this moment he felt that he was supported by someone, and he smelled a familiar fragrance. Looking sideways he saw Yanzhika's beautiful face. Thinking that he failed to live up to the girl's expectations, that he didn't fulfill his promise, and that his high spirits and confidence turned into bubbles, Lu Qing was full of guilt and shame, and he didn't dare to face Yanzhika. He whispered painfully, I'm sorry. Yanzhika looked at the boy who was in extreme pain and her heart was full of pity. Her eyes were red and she said softly, You played very well. Just a little bit more and you could have won. I should have played better. Lu Qing clenched his fists and wanted to give himself a punch. Otherwise he couldn't dispel the shame and self-blame in his heart. That little bit could have been fought for. Yanzhika knew that the more she talked, the more painful it would be. She didn't want to dwell on this topic and said firmly, Then win it back later. Win it back later? Lu Qing was stunned and answered in a promising manner, Okay. As soon as he calmed down he returned to the seats. Seeing the painful Lin Ke, the confused Sun Jian and the others, he couldn't help but blame himself. He took a breath and said solemnly, I'm sorry. I didn't play well this time. Li Mao immediately answered, No, we were too weak. It's good enough that you've fought to this extent. Otherwise, losing this round meant losing everything, and they couldn't count on the substitute match. Yes, we were too weak. We could only count on you too. Lin Hua's eyes were misty. Lin Ke also put down his palms and said with a painful but firm look in his eyes, I was also wrong. I wasn't good enough. Hearing that his teammates were scrambling to take responsibility, Lu Qing's eyes blurred, and he almost shed tears. At this time, Geezer Shi, who had been silent, said, Do you understand? Lu Qing lowered his head and nodded slightly, I understand. Don't be complacent in the future. Geezer Shi sighed, Then I'll teach you one more thing. Don't be complacent and don't lose your spirit when you're down. Lose my spirit? Lu Qing looked up blankly. Geezer Shi nodded and answered, Yes, the spirit of chasing, the spirit of striving and the spirit of fighting. Chapter 221. The spirit of pursuit, the spirit of perseverance, the spirit of struggle. Lu Qing was shocked and couldn't help but shudder. He kept reciting these 3 kinds of spirits and climbed out of the swamp of regret and self-blame. Failure was not terrible. What was terrible was not being able to recover after failure. Seeing Lu Qing's reaction, Geezer Shi smiled with satisfaction. Donglin Squad can only be considered as a small pit on your martial arts path. When you cross this threshold and look back, you will find that it is not a problem at all. You should set your sights higher. The real opponent you need to catch up with, challenge and defeat is in the university martial arts competitions. Haha, when Peng Liyun was at professional 8th pin, he beat Zhou Jingquan just like you beat most of the professional 9th pin fighters now. After this incident, he seemed to have acquiesced to open the master-disciple relationship between them and calmly taught Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng took a deep breath and felt that the next goal was more and more clear. That was to break through the big devil Peng Liyun, who had been lingering in his ears for the past year. He wanted to catch up with the real genius who was regarded as his role model by his master at the beginning of his martial arts practice. If he couldn't win the championship of the university martial arts competition before Peng Liyun graduated, even if he and Lin Ke were lucky enough to win this honor, it would be full of regret. Geezer sure didn't say more. He turned to Sun Jian and said, "What are you waiting for? Go up and finish what you started." Because they lost the last match 2-3, even if Sun Jian beat Hou Yu, who was in a bad condition this round, the final score would only be a draw. There would be an extra round of substitutes. Among the substitutes, Donglin squad still had a strong professional 9th pin fighter, Li Xingnan. Songqing University Martial Arts Club didn't even have an amateur first pin fighter, so there would be no surprises. Therefore, Sun Jian didn't rush into the arena. It didn't matter to let Hou Yu recover a little. After all, it wouldn't change the overall situation. Sun Jian nodded and walked to the stone steps with mixed feelings. If only we substitutes were stronger. In the arena, Hou Yu had performed the waterfall of the fly fall punch 3 times in a row. Not only did he consume a lot of energy, but his body was also affected by the shock. He couldn't run around the arena. Sun Jian cautiously circled around him for a while and found that his opponent seemed to have difficulty even walking. So he plucked up his courage and approached him with the 24 blizzard strikes. The referee raised his right hand and said in a calm tone, "5th round, Sun Jian wins." Under normal circumstances, the audience would cheer for Sun Jian and cheer for the martial arts club. But now, they were silent and even sobbing, as if they were watching a tragedy unfold. Before the match, they had already been briefed on the rules. They also knew that the substitutes of their own martial arts club were no match for the other party. As expected, the referee continued to announce, "The result of this match is Songqing University Martial Arts Club's victory. The overall result of this match is a tie. Additional round, substitute battle." Geezer sure looked at Li Mao and the others and sighed. "Are you going to compete?" "That's right, do you want to compete?" They couldn't win the game and couldn't change the result. Li Mao and Lin Hua were silent for a while. They were at a loss. Why waste physical strength and effort? Yenjika lowered her eyelashes and covered her eyes. She forced a smile and said, "Of course. Coach sure, didn't you say that we are here for actual combat? How could he not play when there's a competition?" "You're right." Geezer sure blushed and laughed dryly. "Go ahead then." This old man had almost forgotten this slogan. "Don't you want to cheer for me?" Yenjika reached out her hand to Lu Cheng. Her eyes were red and bright. Lu Cheng took a breath and said in a voice that could only be heard by both parties, "Go Coach Yen." With a clap, they high-fived each other. Yenjika turned around and walked down from her seat to the stone steps. She felt sad, pitiful, and regretful. But there was also a firm belief in her heart. We can lose, but we can't admit defeat. Seeing this beautiful girl, who shouldn't exist in the violent arena, walking to the battlefield without hesitation, the audience seemed to be infected. They calmed down and scattered cheers sounded again. Fighting to this extent, we are already good enough. There weren't many miracles in the world. Yenjika's fierce attack at the beginning did startle Li Xingnan. But she was much more experienced and stronger than her opponent. She soon steadied herself and launched a counterattack. She won quickly. Then Li Mao and Lin Hua took turns to challenge her, but they still couldn't break through this wall. The referee took a breath and said loudly, "Substitute battle, Donglin squad wins." The final result, Donglin squad wins. The whole arena fell into silence again. A thick sense of sadness reverberated in the martial arts gym. Yenjika bit her lower lip and pulled Lu Cheng with misty eyes. "Cheng, let's go and say thank you to everyone." Lu Cheng originally had this idea. But after not being able to bear the result, he was afraid to face the enthusiastic students and see their disappointed and sad expressions. At this moment, hearing his girlfriend's suggestion, he took a deep breath and said, "Okay. A man can't be a coward. Since it's my responsibility, I have to face it myself. No matter how disappointed they are, or scolded me, or even throw things at me, I'll bear it. I'll make up for it in the next match." Lu Qing stood up, patted Sun Jian, Li Mao and others and led them to the stands. Hand in hand they bowed together. Thank you for your support, for your cheers, for your shouts and for your sadness. Just when Lu Qing was ready to bear everything, a hoarse shout suddenly rang out from the stands. Next time. Next time? Lu Qing and others were stunned and didn't react. The spectators in the stands were silent at first, and then they shouted noisily, next time. Next time. Next time. Win for us next time. The voices gradually became uniform, which affected the other stands. All the spectators shouted in unison, next time. Next time. No complaints, no disappointment, only encouragement and expectation. Lu Qing, who had always believed that men don't cry easily, and men don't shed tears when they bled, suddenly had tears in his eyes and a sore nose. Once again he and his teammates bowed deeply, thanking for their love and support. It's so good to have you. We'll win next time. Next time. Next time. The shouts of the audience were transmitted to thousands of households through the airwaves, making Yen Shaoling, Brahmin, and the other girls burst into tears. Choking with sobs, they followed and shouted, next time, next time, next time, next time, next time. Xu Rui, who had just been out of school for a year, was affected by the atmosphere. She sniffed and was afraid that she would be too embarrassed to cry. At the same time, she was worried about what to do. Songqing University lost. How to interview Lin Ke later. Thinking of this, she really wanted to cry. Next time. Next time. Lu Qing turned his head to look at Yen Zhika with blurred vision. He found that the girl's eyes were filled with mist. Her eyes were obviously red, but she didn't cry. Cry. He held the girl's hand. She took a breath and said with a smile that was uglier than crying, I don't cry when I'm sad. Next time. Next time. Li Liantong, Fan Yanxi and others had been completely immersed in the atmosphere, crying and shouting at the same time. Laughter can make people reminisce from time to time, while crying is unforgettable. After the game, Lu Qing took a shower, changed his clothes and walked out of the locker room directly. He was familiar with the way and knew that there would be an interview waiting for him, so the sooner he finished, the better. Xu Rui looked at him in surprise. She laughed and said, Lu Qing, I thought you would be the last to come out. Lu Qing wanted to make a joke and say, last time I won so I gave the limelight to everyone. Today I lost so I'll take the blame first. But he was not in the mood. He just replied politely, I didn't know you would be waiting for an interview. Good boy. Compared to Lin Ke he was much better. Xu Rui ridiculed and brought the topic back on track. You don't seem to be in a good mood. Was today's game very important to you? Every game is important to me. Lu Qing said concisely, failure will definitely make people unhappy. Xu Rui thought for a while and said, then I'll be bold and ask, what do you think of this failure? What do you think you lost in? What do you need to improve? We are more or less the same as the Donglin squad. Both of us have a chance to win. This time it's mainly because I've been going so smoothly and got a little carried away. I always wanted to take down the opponent in one go. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to face Zhou Jingxuan's dance stage explosion head-on. Lu Qing said sincerely, taking up his own responsibility. A man can't shirk. As for the reason that he lost because of the simplified physical invulnerability moves, he would definitely not say that. Since he didn't use it, it was a rare trump card. Xu Rui thought for a while and comforted him, it's normal to be young and frivolous. Knowing how to reflect is a sign of maturity. By the way, Lu Qing, you will participate in the National University Martial Arts competition in the next half of the year. What's your goal? Well, to enter the national finals. Lu Qing didn't say that his goal was Peng Liyun and the overall champion, because it would definitely be ridiculed. Although you are strong, you are not at the same level as Peng Liyun. In fact, you are far from him. And his improvement is not slower than yours. Then I wish you success. Xu Rui ended the short interview. She continued to interview Yen Zhika and the others. Then she faced the ultimate challenge, the expressionless Lin Quebec. Lin Ke, what do you think of your performance in today's game? Xu Rui tried to cut in from the perspective of the martial arts competition. Lin Ke said indifferently, not good. What? Xu Rui had the urge to go crazy again. Can't you answer in one breath? Why are you like a voice assistant? You answer one question after another. I didn't expect Zhou Jingquan to make 3 consecutive bursts at the beginning. Lin Ke's eyes showed that he was in pain. If he had fought a little better and left some influence on Zhou Jingquan, the result would have been different. Xu Rui nodded and asked, the National University Martial Arts competition will be in the next half of the year. What's your plan and expectation? After a few seconds of silence, Lin Ke answered, "Practice hard." After that he walked past Xu Rui to the gate of the stadium. Xu Rui felt inexplicably sad. If Lin Ke had said, "It's a secret," or, "I won't tell you," she could feel that he was in a good mood and could even make cold jokes. But now he must be in pain. Time flew. It had been more than a month since the game in May. Lu Qing stood beside the lush trees and closed his eyes to visualize the thundercloud. He compressed his muscles and wriggled his abdomen to create a slight vibration to strengthen his internal organs. Gradually he felt that his heart was beating more and more vigorously. Blood gushed out and flowed clearly to every organ in his body. Under his control, his heart slowed down quickly without any difficulty. So did the rest of his organs. This was the sign of martial arts training in the body. This was the sign of the peak of body refining. The next step was to integrate all the forces in his body and comprehend the meaning of withdraw. Lu Qing opened his eyes. His chi was vigorous and fierce. He didn't squeeze the Jin Dan again to improve his supernatural ability because he felt that it would be contradictory to his comprehension of the meaning of withdraw. Many supernatural ability users couldn't reach the Dan stage because their supernatural ability was getting stronger and stronger. He was a martial artist and couldn't confuse his priorities. He would wait until he comprehended the meaning of withdraw, and then ask his master to help him awaken his supernatural ability. Besides, his master said that he had made some progress on the fire sect visualization. He might have a chance to get it next semester. Of course, this was a plan for the future. The most important thing now was, go home. Go back to Xioshan. Go back to Xioshan with Ku. In his mind, he visualized a big sun falling from the sky and crashing into a frozen river. Yin and Yang collided fiercely. Bam! He punched the tree in front of him and then withdrew his hand. He turned around and left without even looking at it. As he left, leaves suddenly fell from the tree that seemed to be motionless. The more they fell, the more yellow they became. It was as if winter had arrived. End of Part 1. Chapter 222. Dusk had passed and the train was running fast. Yanjika couldn't bear the tiredness and fell asleep on her boyfriend's shoulder. Lu Cheng's right shoulder didn't move at all. His left hand gently reached out and skillfully grabbed the backpack on the side. Then he unzipped it, took out a jacket and put it on Yanjika. For men there was a kind of coldness called, your girlfriend may feel cold. But high-speed trains were always hot in winter and cold in summer. Considering his girlfriend's travel habits, Lu Qing didn't want her to travel for several hours, so he proposed to take a plane home. But Yanjika refused and even calculated the time for him. It took about 50 minutes to get to the airport from the new campus of Songqing University, which was about the same as the train station. At the airport they had to get the boarding pass and go through the security check, which took about an hour. Even if the plane took off on time, it would take at least 2 hours. Besides, the destination was Gaofen, the provincial capital, and they had to transfer to Xioshan by train. All in all, it would take at least 5 hours. But the high-speed train from Songqing to Xioshan would only take 6 hours from the new campus, so they didn't have to make so many transfers. Lu Qing chose a train that could run at night to preserve the taste of the food when he went back to school. Of course, it was not as fast as the high-speed train. The scenery outside the window kept passing by. Lu Qing was a little excited and a little melancholy. He was excited because he missed home, his parents and everything in Xioshan. He was melancholy because he couldn't be with Yanjika every day after returning to Xioshan. She went to Jiangnan during the winter vacation, which meant she hadn't seen her relatives and friends here for almost a year. She would have to go to all kinds of parties. More importantly, she would have to spend time with her parents, so she couldn't be as free as she was in school. Fortunately, they had agreed to exercise together every morning. While Lu Qing was thinking, the speed of the high-speed train started to slow down, and the announcement of arrival came from the radio. Xioshan ahead. Yanjika's long eyelashes trembled, and her eyes opened slowly. Her face was full of confusion, as if she had just woken up. Where are we? We'll be there soon. Lu Qing put his left hand into his trouser pocket and took out a pack of tissue. Yanjika woke up. She blushed and let her boyfriend wipe the corners of her mouth. She was drooling again. Your t-shirt. She turned her eyes and saw the wet stains on Lu Cheng's clothes. She couldn't help but smile, but she was a little proud. Lu was about to tease her when he heard the cheerful ringtone of the girl's cell phone. Empress, Empress. Yanjika shrank her neck when she saw the caller ID. She answered the call. Hello, Mom. I'll be there in a few minutes. Bye. The train? Bye. Poor me, no one picked me up. Lu Cheng listened quietly and made a self-deprecating remark with a smile. Calm. That's right. Poor Cheng, I'll pick you up in the future. Yan Zhika answered with a smile and helped him tidy up his collar. Lu Cheng stood up with a smile on his face. With one hand in each hand, he took down the girl's trolley box and big backpack. His effortless and steady manner attracted the attention of the passengers around him. This boy is neither tall nor strong, but he is strong. Carrying 2 bags, dragging the suitcase and holding Yenjika's hand, Lu Cheng went through the door, got off the platform, passed the gate and arrived at the hall. Yenjika stopped and said with melancholy, "Give me the luggage." After helping her carry her luggage, Lu Cheng waved his hand. Holding back his reluctance, he smiled and said, "See you tomorrow." "See you tomorrow?" Yenjika pursed her lips and smiled. Although they had agreed to exercise together every morning, Lu Cheng felt that Empress Dowager would make some trouble. She dragged the suitcase and walked a few steps. Then she stopped and looked back at Lu Cheng. After a few seconds of hesitation, she waved her hand, turned around and walked quickly out of the hall. Lu Cheng sighed and stood there. He planned to wait for a while before going out. He didn't want to meet Empress Dowager. After more than a minute, his cell phone beeped. Yenjika said, "I've met up with Empress Dowager. You should go home soon." "Don't worry. The bus here doesn't stop until 9. Lu Cheng replied as he walked out of the station with the luggage. Yenjika put on an obedient expression and said, Actually, I wanted to give you a goodbye kiss just now." "For the shy Yenjika, it's just a thought, right?" Lu Cheng said with a smirk. "Hey, you know me very well." Yenjika replied, humming a little song. After chatting for a while, Yenjika's reply slowed down. Apparently she was talking to her parents. Lu Cheng put the phone in his pocket and sped up to catch the nearest bus. He went straight to the back door with the yin-yang stance and took out his cell phone. It was almost 8 o'clock. He didn't ask his mother to leave him dinner. He had to find something to eat. As for how to find it, he was back in Xioshan. He didn't need to worry about being unfamiliar with the place. Lu Cheng found Qin Rui's number in his contact list and called him directly to see if his old classmate was free. He wanted to thank him face-to-face for helping his cousin's boyfriend enter Gushin martial arts school. Secondly, he wanted to ask about his summer job. "Hello, Qing. You're on holiday? You're back?" Qin Rui asked happily on the other side of the phone. Lu Cheng laughed. "Yeah. I just got back to Xioshan and didn't leave any food at home. I'm going to eat something outside before going back. Are you free? Let's meet up?" "Sure. Where do you want to meet?" "There's a new crayfish restaurant near Peace Bridge. It's pretty good. You can try it." Qin Rui agreed without hesitation, although he had just had dinner at 6:30. After Dai Linfeng and other brothers witnessed their classmate Lu Cheng kill a professional 9th pin fighter, his status in the martial arts school had unknowingly risen and he had received the respect he had never enjoyed before. This made him, who had been out of school for a year, deeply understand the fickleness of human nature and how to manage one's own network. Without a doubt, Lu Cheng was definitely a classmate worth keeping a good relationship with. Lu Cheng smiled and said, "Let's go there next time. Guys like us who come back only once in half a year always want to eat something familiar. How about Old Lu Barbecue? Let's meet at Old Lu Barbecue." "Okay." Qin Rui paused and said, "Your cousin is playing in the martial arts school. Do you want her and Ding to go there too?" Ding Yanba had been in the Gushin martial arts school for almost a month. Qin Rui naturally knew that he was not a child of Lu Cheng's relatives, but a relative's child's boyfriend. "Feifei? She's in Xioshan?" Lu Cheng asked in surprise. "When did Qi Yunfei come to Xioshan from Ningxue? Aunt doesn't care about her?" Qi Yunfei performed well in the middle school entrance exam in June and failed to get into Xioshan No. 1 middle school and Ningxue No. 2 middle school. Fortunately, the difference between the scores was not big. Aunt Qiyan made up her mind and spent a lot of money to send her to Xioshan No. 1 middle school. "Yeah. She said she'll stay at your house these days." Qin Rui answered with a smile. "She's staying at my house? Then I can only sleep on the sofa?" Lu Cheng didn't expect that he would be the director on the first day he came back. He was annoyed and amused at the same time. "Okay. You can ask them to come over. I'll see what that guy looks like." He also wanted to warn Feifei to know her limits and not to delay her studies. When Lu Cheng arrived at the Old Lu Barbecue restaurant with his luggage, Qi Yunfei and her boyfriend were already waiting there. Qin Rui left from his house and would arrive in a few minutes. Qi Yunfei was dressed up like a popular little girl. She waved her hand and said, Brother Lu Cheng, here." Lu Qing walked over with a smile and glanced at the boy named Ding Yanba from the corner of his eyes. He found that he was more than 1.8 meters tall, which formed a cute contrast with the petite Qi Yunfei. His appearance was not outstanding, but it could be said that he looked decent without any hostility. Between his eyebrows, there was a vigorous vitality unique to his age. "You're amazing. You came to Xioshan without a word." Lu Qing came in front of them and teased them while putting his backpack. Qi Yunfei smiled proudly. "What do you mean by without a word? I told my mom that I'll come to your house to play for a week." As for her sister Qin Xiaoxiao, she was still in class. After that, Qi Yunfei pulled Ding Yanba and urged, "Call me Brother Lu Cheng." Ding Yanba had no choice but to say shyly and embarrassedly, "Brother Lu Cheng." "Sit down." Lu Cheng pointed to the chair and asked casually, "You've been in the martial arts club for almost a month, right? How do you feel? Can you adapt?" As soon as he said this, he wanted to laugh. If Yanjika was here, she would probably be trembling. Since when did Qing become so old-fashioned? Sure enough, it was very different to appear as a brother. Ding Yanba answered cautiously, "It's okay. I'm a little tired, but I feel that I've learned a lot. Brother Rue is a serious person, but he is very good to us and does his best." "That's not what you said before." Qi Yunfei interrupted with a smile. "You said that Brother Rue always had a straight face and didn't show any mercy. How long has it been and you've changed your position?" Ding Yanba scratched his chin and said embarrassedly, "I understand now. Brother Rue is good for us." "It's good to be strict," Lu Qing affirmed. Qi Yunfei pouted. "Brother Lu Qing, you don't know how much he has changed during this time. Brother Rue this and Brother Rue that, he's almost like a follower. I'm learning martial arts better." Ding Yanba explained, "You don't know how powerful Brother Rue is. He ranks among the top of the younger generation in Xioshan. You know that guy from Ningxue? He's so powerful and good at fighting, but he was knocked down by Brother Rue with a kick and a slap." "God. The guy who came to our school and beat people?" Qi Yunfei asked with her eyes wide open. "Yes, that's him. In front of Brother Rue, he's as obedient as a dog," Ding Yanba said with excitement and admiration. "By the way, Brother Rue just passed the ranking event and got the certificate of amateur first pin." "Qin Rue passed the amateur ranking event in June?" Lu Qing nodded with relief. At this moment he found Qin Rue's arrival in advance with his keen senses. He waved his hand and shouted loudly, "Qin Rue over here." Ding Yanba and Qi Yunfei followed the sound and saw Qin Rue, who was more than 190 centimeters tall, striding over like half of an iron tower. They hurriedly stood up and shouted cautiously and reverently, "Brother Rue?" Qin Rue smiled and was about to speak when he suddenly found Lu Cheng's qi was vigorous to the extreme, which naturally formed a fierce and powerful feeling. He sat there quietly but seemed to be taller than himself. Is this the peak of the body refining stage? He was stunned and smiled with half bitterness and half surprise. "Qing, I almost couldn't help but call Brother Lu." Chapter 223. Brother Lu? Brother Rue actually called Lu Qing Brother Lu Brother Lu? Qi Yunfei blinked her eyes and felt a little confused. That's not right. But maybe they were classmates and liked to tease each other? Yes, it must be so. Ding Yanba next to her was also in a daze. He had been in Gushan martial arts school for nearly a month, but he had never seen Brother Rue call others brother. He and cousin Feifei were so close that they could even joke like this? What Brother Lu? It's so unpleasant. It makes me feel old. Lu Qing smiled and took the cup. He lifted the pot of buckwheat tea on the table and poured 2.5 cups. I heard you got the certificate of amateur first pin? You know I don't drink, so I'll toast you with tea. Congratulations. Qin Rue immediately sat down, took the cup and clinked it with Lu Cheng's. He raised his head and drank it. He wiped his mouth and smiled brightly. What's there to congratulate? I can't compare with you. My size and strength are all here. As long as I practice diligently enough and proficiently enough and learn something real, amateur first pin is still relatively simple. Alas, it'll be more difficult in the future. Can't compare with you? Qi Yunfei was confused again, and then she found a reason on her own. Brother Rue must mean that amateur first pin couldn't compare with Songqing University's certificate. Ding Yanba, on the other hand, was dumbfounded. Wasn't Brother Rue known for his serious face? Only in front of senior brother Dai and others, his expression was normal. But now he was smiling so softly, so sincerely, so from the bottom of his heart. Was this the other side of him? It was not like the Brother Rue he knew. Were they close friends? Facing Qin Rue's exclamation, Lu Qing replied jokingly, Don't be modest, don't fake it. You don't know how many people want to be of amateur first pin but can't get it. In the future you'll find a way. I'm serious. At the end of April, I thought that you might have gotten the certificate, so I searched online. Damn, I was scared to death. I was so scared that I didn't dare to call to congratulate you. I feel like we're not in the same world anymore. Qin Rui sighed and said with a smile, how long has it been since then? In the blink of an eye. You've exceeded my expectations again. Listening to Qin Rui's rambling, Ding Yanbo rubbed his eyes, suspecting that he had recognized the wrong person. Is this Brother Rui? When did Brother Rui start acting like a 30 or 40-year-old drunkard who likes to nag? He hadn't even drunk it yet? How could he be drunk? While he was looking left and right, Qi Yunfei pulled his clothes and winked at him. Then she said loudly, they are so busy. No one came to greet them. I'll go in order. Brother Lu Qing, Brother Rui, what do you want to eat? What would you like to drink? 10 skewers of chicken wings, 10 skewers of chicken tips. Lu Qing followed his usual menu and ordered. The main dish is eggplant. I'll start with 6. Qin Rui, what else do you want? Qin Rui shook his head. I only finished eating at 7 p.m. I don't have much of an appetite. I'll just eat a little. Give me a can of coconut juice. I've also quit drinking. Ah, good job. Lu Qing turned to look at Qi Yunfei. I want another can of herbal tea. You can take care of the rest. Okay, Qi Yunfei took Ding Yanbo to the barbecue rack. While waiting for the order, she lowered her voice and scolded, liar. What liar? Ding Yanbo was confused by the scolding. You said Brother Rui was very cool and serious. Qi Yunfei glanced at her boyfriend. Why can't I see it today? He's smiling like a flower. He's so kind and brilliant. Ding Yanbo scratched his chin and smiled bitterly. I don't understand. Maybe he has a good relationship with your brother? Feifei, you said your brother is also practicing martial arts and he's very good. Brother Rui just said that we can search for him on the internet? How do I know? I haven't searched for him. Qi Yunfei was also full of curiosity and urged him. You should search for him quickly. Okay. Ding Yanbo took out his mobile phone, opened the web application and entered Lu Cheng's name. After thinking about it, he felt that it might not be safe. He asked again, is your brother from Songqing University? Yes, I've told you many times. Qi Yunfei said angrily. With Lu Qing, Songqing University as the keyword, Ding Yanbo clicked on the search and refreshed the page. At the top was the encyclopedia introduction. Hey, someone even edited the encyclopedia for your brother? Ding Yanbo clicked on it excitedly and glanced at the editors. He found that they were Eternal Nightfall, Brahmin, and Unparalleled Dragon King. Name, Lu Qing. Age, 19. Height, 1.75 1.77. Weight, unknown. School, Songqing University. Rank, Professional 9th Pin. When he saw the words Professional 9th Pin, Ding Yanbo's heart trembled and his wrist shook. He almost threw his mobile phone away. Professional 9th Pin? There was no Professional 9th Pin in the whole Xiushan martial arts circle. No, the encyclopedia can be edited by anyone. It's not very reliable. Ding Yanbo scrolled down the page and saw many photos. He was sure that Lu Qing was his girlfriend's cousin. At the same time, he also found many links including fan forums and competition videos. Videos can't lie, right? You can tell at a glance whether it's a special effect or not. Ding Yanbo clicked on one and quickly dragged the progress bar. Bang. His phone fell to the ground and hit the floor hard. What's wrong? Qi Yunfei saw her boyfriend's mouth was half open and scared out of his wits. She hurriedly asked. Ding Yanbo shuddered and subconsciously bent down to pick up the phone. It was as if the broken bricks and unreasonable arms were still flashing in front of his eyes. He felt as if his soul was being hammered by those unreasonable arms. Too terrible. Too terrible. Is this really Feifei's cousin? What's wrong? Qi Yunfei saw that her boyfriend didn't answer and said more seriously. Ding Yanbo handed the mobile phone to her absent-mindedly. You see it yourself. See what? Qi Yunfei's baby fat face was full of suspicion. She took the mobile phone and pressed play again. She kept scrolling. Bang. The poor mobile phone fell to the ground again and broke the tempered film on the surface. Qi Yunfei's mouth was slightly open and her eyes were full of confusion. For her, the shock she received was many times stronger than Ding Yanbo. After all, he was her cousin who she often chatted with and often met during the holidays. She took a breath and said with confused eyes, I may have met a fake brother, the two looked at each other and were both dumbfounded until it was their turn to order. After ordering the skewers and taking coconut juice and herbal tea, the two children returned to their seats in silence. They heard Lu Qing telling Qin Rui how to improve from amateur first pin to professional ninth pin. It's best to be able to meditate. This can save you years or even more of body refining time. Lu Qing imitated his master's tone. Think about it. You can only do visualization when you can conceal spirit and qi. All the internal training methods need to be coordinated with visualization. If you don't do this, it will be very hard to rely on the accumulation of tempering over time. Internal training methods were the core of the body refining state. The higher the level, the more it could help the practitioner to quickly reach the physical quality of professional ninth pin and even to the peak of the body refining state. But good internal training methods were inherited and not common martial arts clubs could have them. Qin Rui nodded thoughtfully. I understand. Without supernatural ability, meditation is the foundation for martial arts to continue to move forward. Speaking of this, he smiled bitterly. But our martial arts club doesn't have internal training methods. This was not an ordinary stance. There will be a way. As long as you can meditate, there will always be a way to get internal training methods. For example, the prize of the preliminaries or the Martial Arts Association, or the one circulating on the market. Lu Qing comforted Qin Rui. The Martial Arts Association was often abbreviated as the Martial Arts Association to show its closeness to the people. Qi Yunfei, who came back with the drinks, sat in silence, looking like a quiet, cute and well-behaved girl. Her eyes kept wandering between Lu Qing and Qin Rui. She saw that although her cousin's facial features didn't change, the overall outline was more angular, masculine and handsome. She didn't look carefully before, but now that she looked at him, brother Lu Qing seemed to have become more handsome and elegant. Lu Qing felt Qi Yunfei's gaze. He touched his face and said with a little worry, "Is there something on my face? Did Ku leave a mark of lip balm on my face again?" No. Qi Yunfei sat upright, more honest than in front of her mother. Ding Yanba was a little scared, not daring to look or speak. Lu Qing took the drink, opened it for Qin Rui and handed it over. He laughed and said, "Here to you again? Ding Yanba, I'm sorry to trouble you." He didn't know how to call his cousin's boyfriend. "What are you talking about? I told you I wouldn't bother." Qin Rui clinked his can with Lu Qing and took a sip with a smile. Qi Yunfei rolled her eyes and pulled Ding Yanba, who was confused, and urged, "Didn't you say you wanted to toast brother Lu Qing? Didn't you want to say thank you to him?" "What?" Ding Yanba subconsciously wanted to refute, but his little girlfriend stared at him, so he nervously picked up the soy milk bottle and said, "Brother Lu Qing, thank you for your help." Lu Qing clinked with him and took a sip. When he was about to speak, Qin Rui interrupted, "Ding, it's your luck to know Cheng. He can teach you a thing or two and you'll be much better than us. Practice martial arts well, don't waste his good intentions." "Yes, brother Rui." Ding Yanba was not a fool. He understood Qin Rui's good intentions and quickly said to Lu Qing, "Brother Lu Qing, I'll toast you again." This time he gulped down the entire bottle of soy milk. "Practice martial arts hard, don't let Fei worry." Lu Qing smiled and said as a brother. Then he followed the topic and asked, "Qin Rui, is your martial arts club recruiting part-time instructors?" Qin Rui was stunned at first, then laughed and said, "Of course. We're just worried that we don't have enough people. Do you want to come?" "I have nothing to do because I'm on holiday. Practicing martial arts will cost a lot of money." "Well, I don't want to trouble my family, so I want to find a part-time job to practice martial arts." Lu Qing said frankly. "Good. We can't wait to have a master like you part-time." Qin Rui was pleasantly surprised. "You don't know, but every summer many middle and high school students are sent here by their parents to practice martial arts for 2 months. They don't want anything but to strengthen their bodies. Haha, we have 10 to 20 summer classes every year. It's very relaxing. They don't want to be ranked, they just want to train." Chapter 224. This kind of class? Can't you just find a student with a fixed rank? What's there to worry about? Lu Qing's stomach was rumbling and the barbecue was not ready yet. Qin Rui laughed and said, "You don't understand, do you? Our summer classes are held 3 times a week for half a day each time. Different classes are arranged on a staggered basis. There are several levels of tuition fees. Randomly finding a student with a fixed rank to teach us is the lowest level. It costs 888 yuan for 2 months. Among the more powerful students, it costs 1,288 yuan. For inner disciples like us, it costs 2,088 yuan. Nominally we are learning from my master. Not only is the fee but we also need to have connections and background. That works? Lu Qing listened with great interest. The only discomfort was that his stomach was burning. Although he was more mature than when he first entered the university, he was still in touch with monotonous social classes. There were many things that he did not understand. Qin Rui gently patted the table and said, "You don't believe me? In the beginning we didn't want to divide the classes so carefully. But some parents were dissatisfied. Oh, how can my child practice with so many people? What can I learn? What if I can't take care of him? What if he bumps into something? Do you have a better class here? Fewer students, more powerful teachers, and money is not a problem." He said the last few words with a pinched throat. He imitated it vividly. Qi Yunfei and Ding Yanba, who were like two little quails, couldn't help but laugh. The latter never thought that Brother Rui had such a side. The heart of comparison is the source of human progress. Lu Qing faked a famous quote. He sniffed and smelled the barbecue aroma. Qin Rui took a sip of coconut milk and said, "College students are good at talking. Who doesn't have the heart of comparison? If you come here part-time, your class will definitely be the highest level. And believe it or not, you can definitely line up if you want to sign up. This is a rare professional ninth pin in Xioshan." Before he could finish his sentence, Lu Qing humorously added two more words. What? Qi Yunfei almost spat out the soy milk she just drank. Qin Rui laughed a few times and caught his breath. "You're a living advertisement. The other dojos can only stare at you helplessly. We definitely want you to come. You don't have to advertise me too much, do you?" In this aspect, Lu Qing's face was still relatively thin. "Alright, if you like to keep a low profile, then keep a low profile." Qin Rui said frankly, "I can't decide how to do it. I'll ask my master tomorrow and I'll call you then." He wasn't the dojo master, so he couldn't promise a certain amount of salary or bonus right now. "Okay, sorry to trouble you." Lu Qing thanked him sincerely. At this time he finally saw the first batch of barbecued meat being delivered. After that, he replied to Yenjika's messages and chatted with Qin Rui about the recent situation of his high school classmates and the anecdotes of the martial arts circle in Xioshan. When he was full, it was almost 9:30 p.m. After paying the bill and saying goodbye, Lu Qing glanced at his cousin. "Feifei, it's getting late. Why don't you follow me back?" "Okay." Qi Yunfei nodded briskly. Lu Qing was surprised that she was so honest. He thought that she would dawdle and say a few words of resistance. Since when did the little devil become so easy to talk to? He didn't show his doubts and led the little girl to say goodbye to Qin Rui and Ding Yanba. They stopped a taxi and went straight to their own community. In the car, Qi Yunfei maintained a quiet and silent attitude, which surprised Lu Qing and made him wonder what happened to her. She was so lively and cheerful just now. "Feifei, what's wrong with you? You don't seem to be in a good mood." Lu Qing looked at the taxi driver in front and asked with concern. Qi Yunfei seemed to wake up from a dream and said, "I'm a little sleepy after playing all day." "I'm sleepy too. I didn't take a nap." Lu Qing covered his mouth with his hand and yawned. He smelled the strong smell of barbecued meat. After entering the community and returning home, he saw his mother, Qi Fang, as soon as he opened the door. "You little bastard, why are you back so late? Where did you go?" Why did you two come back together?" Lu Qing smiled and said, "We met on the road." "Mom, why didn't you tell me Feifei was here when I called you today?" Qi Fang laughed and said, "I was too busy and forgot." She sniffed and said, "You smell like barbecued meat. You came back so late just to eat barbecued meat? Let me tell you, this kind of food is unhygienic. Who knows if the meat they use is good or bad? You should eat less." The familiar nagging and concern made Lu Qing unable to muster the slightest desire to talk back. He answered perfunctorily, Okay. Qi Fang said for a while and suddenly patted her head and said, "Oh, I almost forgot to tell you. Qing, you sleep in the living room tonight. Give the room to your sister." "Mom, is she my biological sister? It's my first day back," Lu Qing joked. Qi Fang walked back to the sofa and sat next to Lu Jisheng. She laughed and said, "Only biological sisters dare to do that. Hey, Mom is getting sexier." Lu Qing laughed secretly and didn't hurry to pack up. He sat on the single sofa and planned to chat with his parents for a while. Qi Yunfei greeted him and went into the room. She found a change of clothes and went straight to the bathroom to take a shower. Lu Jisheng pushed his gold-rimmed glasses and looked at Lu Qing with a smile. "Good, you're in good spirits. Practicing martial arts is very useful." Hearing this, Qi Fang came to her senses. She took a breath and carefully looked at her baby son. In the end, she said with a smile, "If your dad didn't say it, I would have missed it. I was just looking at whether you lost weight or not. Good spirits, much smoother than your dad when he was young." Smoother was a Xioshan dialect which meant handsome. "Why are you talking about me again?" Lu Jisheng complained. He took a sip of tea and pondered for more than 10 seconds. "Ching, is the cost of practicing martial arts very high? If you are short of money, although we are not very rich, we still have some savings." Lu Qing didn't expect his dad to ask about this. He was a little confused and subconsciously asked, "Dad, why do you suddenly ask this?" From the peak of body refining stage to the Dan stage, he would need the help of medicinal decoctions and other things in order to train his martial arts to the finest detail. It was indeed a huge expense, but he had already made plans. Not only had he circled a provincial youth tournament at the end of July and the beginning of August, he had also planned to work part-time at the Gushin Martial Arts School. Together with the more than 20,000 yuan he had left from before, it should be enough. Lu Jisheng smiled bitterly. "Your dad has been a blockhead all his life. He only cares about his own things and doesn't care much about other things. After knowing that you were going to walk the path of martial arts, he wanted to do some research but found that he was useless. He didn't know anything. He could only watch TV and ask the young people in our factory. They all said that there is a threshold from professional 9th pin to professional 8th pin and it will cost a lot of money. I thought that since you called your mom to tell her that you got the professional 9th pin certificate, you should have reached this threshold, right?" Lu Qing had noticed that his parents didn't ask him much about martial arts, so he thought that his family didn't oppose or support his practice of martial arts. Who would have thought that they had been quietly concerned about him, asking about him and preparing for him? That kind of love was silent without complaint or regret. Phew. He exhaled and forced a smile. "Dad, Mom, don't worry. Didn't I get the prize money from the tournament? I will also work part-time in the martial arts school during the summer vacation. This should be enough for my expenses. If not, I will ask you for more." It was hard enough for his parents to pay for his tuition and living expenses. "Keep that little money for yourself. Don't be too thrifty. You will be looked down upon by your roommates and classmates." Qi Fang interrupted. "What do you mean by that little money?" Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. "I still have more than 20,000 in my card." He only told his mom that there would be a bonus for the preliminaries but didn't specify how much. Qi Fang naturally thought that it was a small amount of 800 to 1,000. More than 20,000? Qi Fang opened her eyes wide and Lu Jisheng couldn't help but push his glasses. "Damn, I accidentally exposed the amount of my private savings." Lu Qing quickly smiled and said, "That's right. With your son's current ability, it's very easy for him to earn a few thousand yuan. You should save your money and strive for a bigger house. I can't sleep in the living room every time my cousin comes, right?" Qi Fang laughed so hard that her eyes could not be seen. "Look at what you're saying. This child is capable?" Lu Jisheng took another sip of tea and heaved a long sigh. "Your mom was right. You are indeed more capable than I was when I was young." Lu Qing smiled slightly. "This is called the student surpassing the master." His words made the old couple laugh, and the topic changed from martial arts to the past. Qi Yunfei, while drying her medium-length hair, slipped into the room, turned on her tablet, and seriously watched the content that she had searched before she took a shower. Lu Cheng's fighting videos. After watching a video, she couldn't help but look back, as if she couldn't believe that the protagonist in the ring was in the living room. She couldn't believe that that was her own brother. In the living room, Lu Jisheng and Qi Fang knew that their son had to get up early every day to train, so they washed up and went back to their room after 10 o'clock. Lu Qing took out a change of boxers and planned to take a shower and sleep. He just walked 2 steps and remembered that he still had a little cousin at home. He turned back and opened his backpack, taking out the pajamas that Yen Zhika gave him. He couldn't run around in boxers in front of a 15 or 16-year-old girl, could he? He was old and still needed to know how to avoid suspicion. He could definitely didn't expect that the pajamas she gave him would come in handy at this time. While his thoughts were running wild, he suddenly heard his bedroom door open with a creak. Qi Yunfei stood by the door with a red face and shouted with a smile, "Brother Lu Qing." "What?" Lu Qing looked at her with a blank face. "Nothing, just calling you." Qi Yunfei closed the door with a bang, feeling very happy. "Aha, I have a super powerful brother." Chapter 225. Are you crazy? Lu Qing was stunned. The corner of his mouth twitched and he couldn't help but laugh and curse. His head was full of fog. Is this the so-called generation gap? He felt that he couldn't understand what a little girl like Feifei was thinking. He shook his head and put the matter behind him. He went into the bathroom and finished washing up. Back in the living room he turned off the light and lay on the sofa. He covered himself with a thin quilt and picked up his phone out of habit. He entered the chat mode with Yenjika and felt peaceful and happy, like the moonlight shining in through the window. Poor me, sleeping in the living room on my first day back home. Lu Qing used the pitiful emoji that his girlfriend liked. One is marked by one's company. Hee, I'm rolling on the big bed that I haven't seen for a long time. Yenjika replied with a snickering emoji. Lu Qing threw the table emoji and said, You don't even comfort me. Okay, I'll give you a hug and let you sleep on the bed next time. Yenjika liked to call herself sister in front of Lu Qing, although in fact she was almost a year younger. Sleep on the bed? Do you have a sister with you? Lu Qing took advantage of the opportunity and teased her with a smirk. Yenjika sent a scolding emoji and said, Bah, I won't sleep with a big pervert. And just now you provoked me with the picture of roasted eggplant. Isn't this to tempt you? To tempt you to eat with me one day. Lu Qing replied with a smile. Yenjika sent an emoji rubbing its chin and rolling its eyes and said, What if I want to eat now? I'll go and roast one and send it to you? Lu Qing tried to suggest. Forget it, Empress Dowager and my dad are both at home. Wouldn't you be sending a lamb to the tiger's mouth? Besides, it's already 10 o'clock, you should go to bed. You have to get up early tomorrow to train and enter the dance stage as soon as possible. This is the most important thing, understand? Yenjika lay on the belly of the big hairy bear and couldn't stop smiling. Understood. Rest assured, Coach Yen. Lu Qing replied half jokingly and half seriously. Before he reached the peak of body refining, his brother-in-law had already entered the dance stage and got the certificate of professional 8th pin. Not to mention Peng Leiyun, the big devil, there was still a target in front of him to catch up with. Qing, speaking of morning training, I have a piece of good news and a piece of bad news. Which one do you want to hear first? Yenjika sent him an emoji of sitting blankly. Bad news? We can't train together tomorrow? Lu Qing asked sharply. Yenjika replied, Yes, and not only tomorrow. Empress Dowager said that she has put weight on and wants to train. She wants me to train with her mother and daughter. We can train together. Not only that, but he also had to hold back his disappointment and comfort the girl. Empress Dowager is so busy. She won't be able to hold on for long. Besides, she and your dad have to go to work. You're not a child anymore. You can't be locked up at home. We have plenty of time to date. Qing, I thought you would be disappointed. Yenjika sat up straight and nodded. Qing, I thought you would be disappointed. Of course I am. I feel that the beautiful morning I have been looking forward to is not beautiful. But it can't be helped. She is your mother after all. Lu Qing replied honestly. Then he added, You should eat less breakfast tomorrow. Yenjika's dimples appeared and her eyes were gentle because of his previous words. She suddenly saw this strange sentence and asked, Why? It's a secret. Lu Qing would not tell her that he wanted to send her breakfast, the zongzi she had been dreaming about for a long time. Secret? You want me to eat less breakfast, so you want to send me something to eat, right? What kind of breakfast do I want to eat in Xioshan? Yenjika sent a there is only one truth emoji. Well, you want to send me that zongzi? Lu Qing replied, You are so smart. You guessed it so quickly. Where is the promised surprise? Hey, I am a famous detective. Yenjika, who was wearing a white nightgown, held her phone and rolled on the bed. Her mouth was slightly closed and her eyes were slightly curved. Her smile was very obvious. She only felt that this smart compliment made her so happy. It was even better than the surprise of sending a zongzi for breakfast. This was not only the reflection of the reasoning ability, but also the understanding and tacit understanding between the two parties. After laughing for more than 10 seconds, she said, But my dad is going to make breakfast for me tomorrow. I haven't tasted his cooking for almost a year. I have to go to my grandpa's house tomorrow night and accompany my grandpa the day after tomorrow. So I can only do it the day after tomorrow? As she spoke, she felt a little guilty and wanted to make up for it. Okay, then the day after tomorrow morning. Lu Qing exhaled. Sure enough, he could not be with Ku every day. Yenjika replied, I will come to see you when I am free. I can also go to see you. Lu Qing adjusted his mood and said with a snicker, By the way, what is the good news? Good news? Yenjika chuckled and leaned on the pillow. She rolled her eyes and a faint blush appeared on her cheeks. She bit her lower lip with her pearly white teeth and slowly typed on the keyboard on the screen. The good news is, Cheng, I am starting to miss you. Lu Cheng's heart was hit and became unusually soft. He smiled faintly and replied, I'm sorry. I miss our cuckoo too. At this moment, he only felt that the moonlight was peaceful and the night was gentle. Time flew by and it was already 10:30 p.m. Lu Cheng said goodnight to Yanjika and posted the picture he had taken at the barbecue on Weibo, along with the caption, first meal back in Xioshan. He did not like to do these things. He only updated once every 10 days or half a month. After posting, he logged out of QQ and put his phone aside. He enjoyed the peace of the night and the affection shown by Yanjika just now and fell asleep contentedly. The next morning he woke up naturally and quietly finished washing up. After changing into the navy blue martial arts suit, he unlocked his phone screen and logged into QQ again. He sent a message to Yanjika with a laughing emoji, the handsome one is up. The beautiful one is sitting on the bed. Yanjika replied with an emoji with circles in its eyes. After chatting for a while, Yanjika struggled to get out of bed. Lu Cheng glanced at the replies he had received yesterday. Fatty Jiang was the first one. Cheng, you are not at home on your first day back in Xioshan? Or are you not at home again? Hehe, I am on the train today and will arrive in the evening. Remember to treat me to dinner. A man with a girlfriend must treat to a big meal. Lu Cheng was about to reply to him and say something like, a fat man shouldn't think about a big meal. But he saw other replies from the corner of his eyes. Cheng Chili replied with a shocked emoji, what? Cheng, you have a girlfriend? Qin Rui replied with a shocked emoji, Cheng, when did you have a girlfriend? Is she your college classmate? Chiu Hailin replied with a laughing emoji, I didn't expect you to solve the problem of being single in your first year in college. Chao Lele, who was sitting at the same table, replied with a smile, I didn't expect it either. This is not the Lu Cheng I know. When will you show us what your girlfriend looks like? Damn brother Lu, a barking dog doesn't bite, right? I'm still single. Tao Xiaofei jeered behind them. Lu Cheng was in a daze. There was only one thought echoing in his mind. Damn it, Fatty Jiang is such a big mouth. After a round of training, Lu Cheng consolidated the realm of the peak of body refining. He recalled the conversation with his master before leaving school. The meaning of withdraw must be understood through the process of integrating the strength of the whole body into one. Otherwise it will be a rootless tree without a source of water. This is why you can't practice it in advance until you reach the peak of body refining. Geezer sure said as he drank a mouthful of wine happily. Lu Cheng was surprised and blurted out, Master, you use the words so well, so cultured. Geezer sure smiled proudly and said, that's what my master told me. Hey little brat, can't you grasp the key point? Don't think that the dance stage is easy just because you've mastered meditation and can look inward. After all, this is the first threshold on the road of martial arts. I won't say more. I'll just give you 10 words. Human body, Big Dan, round and bright. Next, you have to figure it out by yourself. If you can't figure it out, you can ask me again. That's it? Lu Cheng felt like he had a fake master. What else do you want? Everyone has their own characteristics and personality. It's not good to rely on your master to pull you along, unless you plan to never surpass your master for the rest of your life. Besides, don't you want to mix in the things of cultivation? I can't teach you everything. From now on, you have to learn to figure it out by yourself. Geezer sure said seriously, anyway, you can call me if you have any questions. But don't expect me to explain everything to you. Yes, master. Lu Cheng nodded thoughtfully. A breeze blew. The morning at the end of June was not hot, but Lu Cheng just did the same training as before. He didn't add anything new because he hadn't bought the herbs to make the decoction. He hadn't tried to unify the strength of his whole body. When he finished training and returned home, he had breakfast. Ignoring Qi Yunfei, who slept until noon, he took the decoction list from his master and went straight to the best pharmacy in the city, Jishan Hall. Outside Jishan Hall, Lu Cheng was about to enter when he heard his phone ring. He took it out and saw that it was Qin Rui, so he chose to answer. Hello Cheng. My master is very happy to hear that you want to work part-time. Qin Rui came straight to the point. He said there are 2 ways to work part-time and you can choose. Well, go ahead. Lu Cheng said happily. Qin Rui considered his tone and said, the first way is to advertise under your name and let you be the head instructor of the martial arts school for 2 months. You won't be paid, but you'll get 30% of the total profit from the summer school. Cheng, to tell you the truth, I'm shocked. I've never seen my master so generous before. You know, we usually have 20 summer school. After deducting the salary, utilities, equipment depreciation and venue wear and tear, the profit for 2 months is at least 1 million. More than 1 million? 30% means at least 300,000? It was the first time that Lu Cheng had seen such a large amount of money. He was a little confused and moved. 300,000, this is 300,000. It's enough to buy a house in Xioshan, where the average price is 3,500 per square meter. Is there really such a good thing? Lu Cheng resisted the urge to agree and steadied his breathing. What's the second way? The second way, we won't advertise under your name. You'll lead a VIP class, the kind that my master is nominally leading. The tuition fee for 2 months is 5,088. There are 10 people in total. Their tuition fees will all be yours. As for equipment and venue, it doesn't matter. If you see anything wrong with our training, just give us a few pointers. Qin Rui said dutifully, besides there's an individual coaching fee. You can earn it with your own ability. Whatever you can earn is yours. What's an individual coaching fee? Lu Cheng asked, not quite understanding. Think about it. Not including the VIP class, the other classes are at least 30 to 50. How can one coach teach them all? He can only teach and watch them as a whole, supervise them to train and correct them from time to time. For some students this is not enough. They want to have a one-on-one coaching and correction. That way the effect will be much better. But this requires additional money. For people like me it's 300 per hour. Qin Rui said with a smile. As for you, we'll decide later. To be honest, I want to ask you to coach me for a few hours. Haha, you're free. Lu Cheng replied with a smile. Qin Rui continued, this kind of coaching fee we have to share it with the martial arts school. You don't have to. The latter was obviously not as good as the former. After all, it was a small class of 10. One-on-one coaching was not very meaningful. Lu Cheng was very tempted by the bonus, but he was very clear that it was a bit too much for a professional 9th pin fighter. If there's something abnormal, there must be something wrong. I can't be blinded by greed. I'd better ask my master. The older the ginger, the wiser. Thinking of this, Lu Cheng smiled and said, Qin Rui, I'll think about it and give you an answer. Okay, I'll wait for your call. Qin Rui answered quickly. Chapter 226. Lu Cheng took a deep breath and shook his head, trying to calm himself down in the face of the temptation of money. After a few seconds he found his master's phone number and dialed it. After a cheerful melody, Geezer Sher's coughing voice penetrated the receiver. Hey brat cough, you encountered a problem so soon? Master, no, it's not a problem with martial arts. It's something else. Lu Cheng explained first. Then tell me what's the matter. Did you kill someone again? Geezer Sher asked casually. Well, in your eyes, am I a homicidal maniac? Lu Cheng complained in his heart. He briefly explained his idea of making money by part-time jobs and the 2 choices of Gushin Martial Arts School. In the end he asked, Master, which one do you think I should choose? According to your heart, you want to choose the first one, right? With hundreds of thousands of yuan there, how can a student like you not be tempted? Geezer Sher laughed. Lu Cheng sighed and answered, I'm tempted, but I feel a little guilty and a little scared. I'm not worth that much money. A normal part-time job of professional 9th pin is only worth about 10,000 yuan a month. Even if it's a scarce resource in Xioshan, it's a bit exaggerated to double that amount, not to mention hundreds of thousands for 2 months. There's no such thing as a free lunch. The greater the profit, the greater the risk. At least you're sober. Geezer Sher laughed. First, anyone with a discerning eye can see that your overall strength is considered to be in the small group in the body refining stage. Besides, you're still young and haven't practiced martial arts for a long time. You have a lot of potential, so you can't be treated as a normal 9th pin fighter. Of course, your salary and treatment will be different. Second, cough cough, that martial arts school's first choice is called binding. In the martial arts circle, as long as you agree to let them use your signboard, you have to bear the corresponding responsibility. If you're the kind of person who doesn't want to admit it, it's okay to take hundreds of thousands of yuan. But you're not. You dared to fight to death for an old friend. What's more, you're soft-hearted when you take advantage of others. Cough, when they meet a strong martial arts school, will you help them? If they get into trouble and ask you for help, will you help them? Are you going to hold them accountable for using your name to bully others? Humans, especially those in the martial world, live for their reputation. It's not that you can't do this kind of thing. Famous martial artists more or less have a similar income. Cough cough. But you have to polish your eyes and see clearly the other party's background and character before you make a decision. Otherwise, you might be dragged into the water one day and still not know what's going on. Now ask yourself, are you willing to live and die with that dojo for a few $100,000? Of course, this is an exaggeration. Just understand what this old man means. Lu Qing asked himself silently. He thought for a while and said, I understand, master. I know what to choose. The bigger the shoulders, the bigger the burden. Okay, I'll remind you again. Earning money is important, but the focus should still be on practicing martial arts. Once you improve your strength, you'll have plenty of opportunities to earn big bucks in the future. Geezer sure reminded him and hung up the phone. Lu Qing calmed down for a few minutes. He didn't answer Qin Rui directly. Instead, he found Yanjika's phone number and dialed her. Yanjika sat at the table, drinking porridge cooked by her father and eating the refreshing dishes made at home. She chatted with Empress Dowager and others from time to time. She was very happy. At this moment, the phone beside her buzzed and vibrated continuously. She looked at it from the corner of her eyes and subconsciously smiled. Her eyebrows became more relaxed. She was a little happy but also a little nervous and worried. I need to answer a call, she explained in a sweet voice. She picked up the phone and walked quickly to the living room. She answered the call and walked up the stairs. Hello, what's the matter? Yanjika tried to make her voice calm and rigid. Ji Mingyu looked at her daughter's back and sighed inwardly as she recalled her daughter's unconsciously gentle eyes and uncontrollable smile. Silly girl, who can you fool with this look? While thinking, she glanced at her husband who didn't realize it and couldn't help but spit. Only the rough men would be able to fool them. Humph, your little princess is about to be taken away, and you don't even realize it. Lu Qing sensed something wrong in Yanjika's tone, so he smiled and said, Are your parents here? Yanjika went upstairs like a whirlwind and entered her room. She leaned against the door and said with a smile, No, they are not here. That's good. I have something to ask Coach Yan. Lu Qing walked a few steps to the side so that he wouldn't block the door of Jishan Hall. Yanjika's sweet dimples appeared. She said with a smile, Go ahead. I'll give you some advice. Judging from Cheng's tone, it shouldn't be a bad thing. Ku, didn't I say that I wanted to work part-time in the martial arts club? I asked Qin Rui for help. His master welcomes me very much. Lu Qing told the whole thing to his girlfriend. Yanjika listened attentively with a smile on her face. She liked Lu Qing's habit of discussing with her in advance. It made her feel a deep sense of participation and companionship. She also knew that Lu Qing was not a person without his own opinion. On the contrary, he was very decisive at critical moments and could be relied on. I think Coach sure is right. Qing, you don't have to be so involved with the martial arts club in Xiushan. Yanjika chose her words carefully. I heard from Uncle Xing and my mother that martial arts clubs in small places like Xiushan are more or less related to the underworld. It's easy for you to get involved with them. My father likes to read some ancient books. His favorite saying is that there are some things to do and some things not to do. Lu Qing originally wanted to find out the background of Gushin Martial Arts Club through Yanjika. After hearing her words, he became more determined and no longer hesitated. Well, I'll listen to Coach Yan and choose the second option. My father-in-law seems to be very meaningful. Well, this is different from praising my master. Yanjika chuckled and was very satisfied. She asked, Did you buy the herbs? In front of the pharmacy. Lu Qing laughed. Which pharmacy? Yanjika rolled her eyes and asked with a smile. Jishan Pharmacy. It's said to be the best pharmacy in Xiushan. The ingredients are all authentic. Lu Qing was happy to chat with his girlfriend. Yanjika pursed her lips and smiled. I can guarantee that. Don't you think it sounds familiar? Why does it sound familiar? Lu Qing was confused. Yanjika snorted. Have you forgotten? Empress Dowager's surname is Ji. I only know that Empress Dowager is called Empress Dowager. Lu Qing joked. What a coincidence. I can't believe I'm in a pharmacy under Empress Dowager's name. Yanjika was afraid that Lu Qing would feel inferior, so she quickly explained, My father is a poor doctor. When Empress Dowager came to Xiushan, she had nothing to do, so she worked part-time as a private trainer and tried to start a business. After a long time of hard work, the company grew up little by little. When I was young, I lived in the family compound. It was much more lively than it is now. I met uncles and aunties on the street and everyone wanted to pinch my face. Haha, it's like my neighborhood. Lu Qing had expected his girlfriend's family background. He didn't care about it now and smiled. I thought you were sick when you were young. You didn't have any fat on your face. I still have some baby fat. Jianghu answered shyly. She felt that her boyfriend didn't have any grudges and was still confident. When a couple in love started chatting, they could talk nonsense for a long time. When Ji Mingyu urged Jianghu to leave, she reluctantly said goodbye to Lu Cheng. She spent the morning with her parents and the afternoon with her grandfather in Jianghu County, which was part of Xioshan. Lu Cheng held the hot phone and called Qin Rui back without hesitation. Cheng, have you made up your mind? Qin Rui asked happily. His classmate worked part-time in the martial arts club as a powerful professional ninth pin fighter, which made him look good in front of his seniors and juniors. Yeah, I just called my master. He said that I haven't finished my apprenticeship yet, so I can't make my own name and carry my own signboard. You know, in the martial arts circle we have to respect our masters. Lu Cheng pushed all the responsibility to his master. After saying this, he felt a little lost. 300,000 yuan. His dad worked hard for most of his life and didn't even save that much money. Forget it. In life there are things to do and things not to do. Got it. Qin Rui agreed. So you chose the VIP class? I'll tell my master now. Hey Ching, you're so strong but you still haven't finished your apprenticeship? Your master is so strict. You have to reach the Dan stage to finish your apprenticeship? Thinking back, one could imagine how awesome Lu Cheng's master was. Probably. Lu Cheng answered blankly. He didn't know when he would finish his apprenticeship. Dan stage? High rank Dan stage? Or even physical invulnerability? After waiting for a few minutes, Qin Rui called back and said with a smile, my master said no problem. When are you free today? Can you come over and finalize this matter? Okay, I'll come over in an hour. Lu Cheng exhaled, relieved that the matter had been settled. He hung up the phone and entered the Jishan Hall. According to the weight of the 7 posts, he bought bags of herbs and spent more than 1,700 yuan. 1 week's worth of herbs will cost more than 1,700 yuan. In 2 months it'll be 15,000. Lu Cheng did a rough calculation and was tongue-tied. He felt that the cost of breaking through to the Dan stage was not small. And this was under the premise that he could train his whole body's strength to be as one in 2 months. No wonder Ku always asked him to save the money, because he wanted to keep the formula a secret. He didn't choose to ask the pharmacy to brew it for him. Carrying the bag, he went home first and then went straight to the Gushan Martial Arts School. When he arrived at his destination, he paid the taxi fare but didn't rush in. Instead, he tidied up his clothes and flicked the dust and hair. After today, he would go in and out as a coach. He had to pay attention to his image. Chapter 227. The Gushan Martial Arts School was located near the new business district of Xioshan. It had a quiet and elegant environment, and it had an old 3-story building. Lu Cheng tidied up his appearance, walked through the trees and opened the door. He found Qin Rui waiting for him at the front desk. You're early. He greeted him happily. Lu Cheng patted his arm and joked, I'm not familiar with Xioshan. I can't even estimate the time of the bus ride. Xioshan changes every half a year. Everywhere is being renovated. Qin Rui replied and led Lu Cheng inside. After entering, Lu Cheng found that the Gushan Martial Arts School was really big. The training ground on the first floor was several times bigger than the Hongluo Martial Arts School he had been to before. It was cleverly designed and divided into 7 or 8 areas. Some areas were noisy and crowded, while others only had 11 or 12 people practicing martial arts seriously. Noticing Lu Cheng's gaze, Qin Rui introduced with a smile, Isn't it big? My master always says that this place is his proudest and most regrettable place. Proudest and most regrettable place? Lu Cheng asked. Qin Rui pointed at the training ground and said, This used to be the workers' club of the 3-machine factory. It was sold during hard times and was bought by my master who was looking for a place to open a martial arts school. That was many years ago and there was no concept of housing prices. But my master spent most of his savings to buy the equipment. He really borrowed a lot of money. But now look at the surrounding housing prices. They have increased by more than 10 times. It's the most valuable and best asset of our martial arts school. So that's what he's proud of? Lu Cheng couldn't help laughing. He didn't think about it at all. Who would have thought that the proudest thing of a martial arts school was real estate investment? He asked curiously, Then why is it the most regrettable place? Qin Rui couldn't help but laugh. At that time my master was still young and full of ambition. He wondered if he should leave Xioshan and open a martial arts club in Gaofun. Later, when he had the opportunity to buy such a big house, he gave it up. A professional ninth pin martial arts club could only make a splash in Gaofun. He would be suppressed by others even if he raised his head. It was better for him to stay in Xioshan and be a local tyrant. Now, thinking about the housing prices in Gaofun, my master talks about it every day and every month. Not to mention buying a house in Gaofun, a decent martial arts school is enough. Even the demolition alone is enough to make him not to worry for the rest of his life. Why is it always about the appreciation of the house? Is this something that a martial arts school should pay attention to? Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. After turning a corner and walking a few steps, Qin Rui led him up the stairs and all the way to the third floor. The lighting here was rather dim with long corridors and doors. Qin Rui didn't explain much. He looked a little nervous and solemn. He strode to the innermost part of the room and knocked on the door gently and rhythmically. Knock knock knock. Knock knock knock. After 2 knocks, a slightly hoarse voice came from the inside. Come in. Qin Rui unlocked the door and pushed it in, allowing Lu Qing to see the scene inside. The window was big and the sun was shining brightly. The table and chairs were carved from mahogany. Steam was rising from the tea set. Chu Weikai, with his deep wrinkles and sharp eyes, had already stood up and welcomed Lu Qing with a chuckle. Seeing you in person is better than hearing about you. Young friend, you are full of spirit and vigor. You really brighten my eyes. Qin Rui and Lin Feng have been praising you in front of this old man. I didn't believe them at first, but they showed me the videos of your recent matches. Wow, a young hero. Xioshan has never had a mighty one in the physical invulnerability stage in its history. Maybe you can make up for it. He spoke like an old-fashioned Jianghu man. Lu Qing had originally thought that he could handle such situations calmly. However, after being praised by such an experienced Jianghu veteran, he suddenly felt a little helpless and did not know how to respond. He could only say modestly, "You're too kind." After exchanging a few pleasantries, Chu Wei let Lu Qing sit in the guest seat. He poured himself a cup of kung fu tea and said with a smile, "Qin Rui has already conveyed your intentions. This old man can understand your master's mentality very well. If these unworthy disciples of mine go out, I will definitely warn them again and again to not let them use the signboard recklessly before they achieve anything." Qin Rui and Dai Linfeng didn't sit down. Instead, they stood on either side of Chu Weikai. It was obvious that the master-disciple relationship in Gushin Martial Arts School was more old-fashioned and solemn, unlike Lu Qing, who often joked with Gizershur and sometimes even made fun of him. Of course, the main reason for this was that Gizershur himself was not serious. Without waiting for Lu Qing to answer, Chu Weikai picked up the Yixing clay teapot and poured him a cup of fragrant tea. Try it. This is the Mongolian wild mountain tea that I asked someone to bring back. It's not worse than Ningxue's Maojing green tea. The water was light yellow and moist. Lu Qing took a sip and felt a strong bitterness. Following that, the taste buds on his tongue seemed to have come alive, throbbing with layers of sweetness. The aftertaste was endless. Good tea. He didn't know anything about tea, so he could only give a superficial compliment. Chu Weikai smiled reservedly and said, "There are now 3 VIP classes. I'm old, so I usually just look around and give a few pointers. Most of the time Lin Feng is in charge. There are 2 classes that come every holiday, and Lin Feng is more familiar with them. I'm afraid they won't be able to adapt to a sudden change of coach. I can only give the remaining class to you first, and then we'll recruit another one. This class is every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 a.m. to 12 a.m. Are you okay with it?" "No." Lu Qing thought for a while and added, "What if I have something to do at the last minute? Find someone to fill in for you or change classes." Chu Weikai waved his hand and asked Dai Linfeng to take 4 sheets of white paper from the desk. "I know it's your first time as a part-time coach. I was worried that you would be worried, so I specially asked Linfeng to make a contract. Words are not proof, so it's just black and white. Look, the contract is very simple. They didn't ask a lawyer to make it. They made it so fancy that even an old man like me can't understand it." The 4 sheets of white paper meant that there were 2 copies of each one, but there were only 2 copies of the real contract. There were about 7 or 8 clauses, mainly stipulating a few things. First, the payment method. Before starting the part-time job, Lu Qing would be paid 10,000 yuan, 20,000 yuan at the end of July, and the rest would be paid on the day of the summer break. Second, there would be no commission for individual coaching fees. Third, Lu Qing would be responsible for any problems caused by physical punishment. Lu Qing looked carefully. After confirming that there was nothing ambiguous, he smiled and said, "I have no problem with it. Okay, let's just sign it. Chu Weikai asked Dai Linfeng to bring him a fountain pen and said self-deprecatingly, "At my age, a fountain pen is more comfortable. I'm not used to you young people's signature pens and ballpoint pens." After a few swipes, the two finished signing and kept one copy each. Lu Qing wrote down his card number on another sheet of paper. "Welcome to our martial arts club. When you become famous, we'll be proud of you too." Chu Weikai shook Lu Cheng's hands and formally expressed his welcome. In the end, he reminded him, "Those kids are here to strengthen their bodies and learn some self-defense moves. Don't be too strict. Let them rest when they need to, in case something bad happens to them." Okay. Lu Qing agreed happily. He wasn't an inexperienced person. During the martial arts lessons, the special training members would often help the lazy geezer to teach them in groups. Most of the students who joined the martial arts club only wanted to strengthen their bodies and learn some self-defense moves. "Come directly on Monday." Chu Weikai turned to look at his disciple. "Qin Rui, show Lu Qing around and familiarize him with the place." "Yes, master." Qin Rui exhaled and looked at ease. After the two left and the door closed, Dai Linfeng frowned slightly and said, "Master, there's no need to be so attentive. He obviously wants to keep a distance from us." Chu Weikai laughed and said, "You're still too young. The most important thing for a person to succeed is to learn how to read people. You know who to keep a distance from, who to befriend, and who to befriend. So I only understood this after I turned 40. Otherwise, how could I be trapped in Xioshan? The third floor is our lounge, locker room, office, and strength training gymnasium for inner disciples. The second floor has 2 practice fields and 3 large strength training gymnasiums. When it's usually empty, we'll use a part of it as a gym. When summer classes start, we'll have to rotate according to time. But you don't have to worry about the VIP class. You can directly use the strength training gymnasium on the 3rd floor. The individual instruction is also there." Qin Rui introduced the layout and facilities of the martial arts club to Lu Qing. When the two passed by a practice field, they suddenly heard a surprised shout, "Brother Lu Qing!" Lu Qing looked over and found that it was his cousin's boyfriend, Ding Yanba. He was a long-term student and was walking and standing with 7 or 8 other people. "Practice hard." Lu Qing smiled and encouraged him. Qin Rui put on a serious face and corrected the irregular movements of several students. This was the group he was in charge of. When the two were far away, a student asked Ding Yanba in a low voice, "Ding Ding, who is that? Do you know him? He looks like he's very good at fighting." Although they didn't know that this was a sign of a certain level of body refining, they could still feel Lu Cheng's fierceness and toughness. They felt that he didn't look weak at all when standing next to Qin Rui, who was more than 1.9 meters tall. Hey, it's me, it's my cousin." Ding Yanba was thick-skinned and pretended to be a relative. "He's Brother Rui's classmate. Brother Rui specially invited him to teach the VIP class." "Really?" Several students were surprised. That was the VIP class that the master was in charge of. "Of course, why would I lie to you? You'll know in a few days." Ding Yanba was so excited that his face turned red. "I haven't told you that Brother Lu Qing is very likely to be the head coach of the martial arts club." This was what Qin Rui had mentioned when they were chatting. When the other students were about to ask, they saw Qin Rui stop and yell back, "What are you talking about? Don't you want to eat?" Suddenly, several students kept quiet out of fear and didn't dare to make a sound. Seeing this, Lu Qing found it funny and said, "You're very dignified." "Of course I am. These bastards dare to slack off when I smile at them. Qing, when you teach the VIP class on Monday, you should show them your power at the beginning. They'll be scared of you and then it'll be easier to control them later. Otherwise, kids at this age can turn the sky upside down." Qin Rui imparted his own experience. Lu Qing nodded thoughtfully and said, "Okay. How should I show them my power?" This is a really troublesome question. While he was thinking, Qin Rui asked in a low voice, "Qing, are you going to participate in this youth tournament?" Chapter 228. Lu Qing was still thinking about how to show off his power. He wondered if he should bring a rock over and smash it with a single whip in front of those kids. However, he also felt that it would be too deliberate, too forced, too pretentious, and too ungraceful of a master. While thinking, he heard Qin Rui's question. He was stunned for a few seconds before he recovered. "I'm going to participate, but I don't know if I can register." The full name of the youth tournament was the Third Youth Champion Tournament of Xing Province. It was held once every 3 years. The registration requirement was to be a martial artist under the age of 26 from the province. Because of the saying, if you can't achieve physical invulnerability by the age of 30, you'll never be able to achieve physical invulnerability. Lu Cheng's age definitely met the requirements, but the problem was that his household registration had been moved to Songqing University, where he participated in the ranking event. It was still a question whether he could be considered a martial artist from the province. This made him a little uncertain. He considered asking his master for help if he really couldn't get in. Anyway, the address on my ID card is still Xioshan City. Registration. Qin Rui was confused. He, who had never gone to college, couldn't imagine how Cheng, who was born and raised in this place, wasn't a martial artist from his province. Until Lu Cheng explained it to him, he suddenly understood. He laughed and said, "Don't worry, it's simple. If you can't register yourself, you can go through our martial arts club. Didn't you read the supplementary rules? Martial artists from the province, including those who work in the province, can register through their company or unit." Then I'm relieved. Lu Cheng was relieved and showed a sincere smile. This was the challenge tournament that he had carefully selected. It perfectly met the requirements of having a lot of money, being at the right level, and not having to travel too much. As for other competitions, there were some good ones. For example, the Battle of the Kings, which started in mid-August every year and ended in early April next year. Even if Lu Cheng wanted to participate, he would still be beaten up badly. He didn't have the strength to get the prize money at all. The Youth Martial Artist Championship competition of Xing Province was jointly organized by the provincial government and the Provincial Martial Artist Association. At first, it was intended to be a benchmark to encourage young martial artists to work hard and change the image of a weak province. However, after the competition started, they found that the viewership ratings were quite good. After all, the fighting styles of physical invulnerability experts and high-ranked dance stage experts were very different from low-level fighting with bare hands and feet. Many of the audience liked to watch thunder and fire, but they also liked the feeling of blood boiling when fists hit flesh. Therefore, after the first batch there was a second batch and then a third batch. With the rise of live streaming, the broadcasting fees increased rapidly, and so did the prize money. This year, the plan announced was that the top 32 would be given a prize money circle. It was not a progressive system. The champion would get 600,000 yuan, the runner-up would get 350,000 yuan, the third and fourth would get 200,000 yuan, the remaining 4 in the top 8 would get 100,000 yuan, the remaining 8 in the top 16 would get 50,000 yuan each, and the remaining 16 would get 10,000 yuan each. Lu Cheng didn't know much about the martial arts circle in this province, but according to the information obtained from the internet and Yanzhika, there were at most 7 or 8 dance stage fighters under the age of 26, and even fewer professional ninth pin fighters with supernatural abilities. As long as his luck wasn't too bad, he would be guaranteed to be in the top 32. He might even be able to compete for the top 16 or even the top 8. If he could gain a lot from this month's training, Lu Cheng felt that he would have greater ambitions. Qin Rui laughed and said sincerely, "Actually, this is our martial arts club's advantage. Think about it, when the time comes, the commentator will definitely say that you are the coach of the VIP class of Gushan Martial Arts Club in Xioshan City. With your strength, you will definitely be in the top 32. Then our martial arts club's fame will spread beyond Xioshan to the whole province. Maybe you will even be on the Xing Province Young Fighters roll call." Lu Cheng had looked up the information about the youth tournament, so he naturally knew what the roll call was. It was a summary program of the youth tournament that Xing Province Satellite TV imitated the ancient customs. Only the top 16 fighters and outstanding fighters in certain aspects would be invited for an interview, and then they would be given a nickname they made up on their own. Most of the time, it would be very melodramatic, such as Little White Dragon, Ultimate Boxing King, and so on. Because he would always associate it with the Donglin roll call, Lu Cheng didn't have the slightest interest in it. He laughed and said, "Will you also participate in the program?" "Yes, all the inner disciples will participate. This is what we told our parents when we signed up for the summer school. That's why the price is lower than last year's." Qin Rui took a breath and said with a longing look, "Although we definitely won't be in the top 32 and won't get the prize money, we can gain more practical experience. At the same time, we can figure out what level we are in among the young fighters in the province. Then we can find goals and motivation." "Well, this doesn't sound like something you would say." Lu Cheng made a joke. Qin Rui smiled bitterly and said, "This is what my master has been nagging about recently. Cheng, my master asked you to decide the fee for individual tutoring. How much do you plan to set?" "Why do you suddenly ask this?" I don't know how much I should charge for my level. Lu Qing answered awkwardly. Besides, he could definitely teach a small class of 10. There was no need to go against his conscience and ask them for individual tutoring. Some money could be earned, but some couldn't. Senior brother Dai went to Gaofan a month ago to inquire about this. The fee for individual tutoring of a professional 9th pin fighter is 500 to 600 yuan per hour. You must be better than the average professional 9th pin fighter, so you should at least charge 800 yuan per hour. Qin Rui said with a smile. Qing, do you think no one will ask you for individual tutoring? There are only 10 people in the VIP class. It's almost the same as individual tutoring. Lu Qing frowned and said his thoughts. Qin Rui smiled and said, the ones who will ask you for individual tutoring are not the students in the VIP class, but us inner disciples and long-term students who want to become stronger. This kind of individual tutoring definitely did not involve the teaching of martial arts, so each person could solve many problems in 1 or 2 hours. There was no need to ask frequently. I see. Lu Qing finally understood that he was a real, discerning person, so he smiled and said to Qin Rui, anyway, it's free. Those kids in the VIP class who only wanted to strengthen their bodies would never understand the value of a top professional 9th pin fighter. No, it's too embarrassing to ask for free. How can I face you in the future? Just give me a classmate discount. Qin Rui beamed and said, I've booked 2 hours of individual tutoring next week. I have to prepare for the youth tournament. Okay, a classmate discount of 30%. I'll call you when I'm free. Lu Qing could understand Qin Rui's mentality of not wanting to take advantage of others, because he was the same kind of person. In fact, he knew that Qin Rui didn't earn much. Since he was in his own teacher's martial arts club, the cost of practicing martial arts was borne by his teacher, so his corresponding salary was much lower than the normal standard of an amateur first pin fighter. It was said that his monthly salary before was 2,000 plus commission for individual tutoring. After he got the amateur first pin certificate, his salary increased by 1,000. Among the inner disciples, Dai Linfeng only had a basic salary of 3,500. Of course, in a place like Xioshan it was not bad. Qin Rui was in a good mood, so he asked casually, you don't have to visit relatives during the summer vacation, so you should be quite free. Hehe, are you going on a date with your girlfriend? Hehe. Lu Qing laughed and admitted it. Anyway, Qin Rui already knew that he had a girlfriend. It's all because of Fatty Zhang's big mouth. At this time the two of them walked back to the first floor. Instead of continuing the topic, they walked toward one of the summer classes. There were only 5 classes of summer students in the gymnasium at the same time. This was the limit. Any more and it would affect the long-term training of the students. As they walked, Qin Rui suddenly felt that something was wrong. Because he didn't think about what he had just asked. Cheng found his girlfriend when he was in college. How could he date during the summer vacation? I just asked casually and he admitted it? Is he going to send her thousands of miles away? Maybe she's from the same province. Maybe she's from Xioshan. The more he thought about it, the more he was interested in gossip. He planned to ask someone later to see if there was anyone else in Xioshan studying in Songqing. Su Rongfei, the inner disciple, looked helplessly at the summer class students who were all over the place in the horse stance. He put on a stern face and was about to lecture them when he suddenly saw Qin Rui walking over with a young man in a slim t-shirt. The more he looked at him, the more familiar he felt this young man was. Then he remembered what senior brother Dai had said before. Qin Rui's classmate Lu Qing was going to work part-time here. All of a sudden he seemed to have returned to the morning of the first day of the new year, to that bloody and terrifying scene. He saw the insufferably arrogant man in black training clothes softly fall to the ground, and he saw the young man who still had some remnants of youth standing upright. Yet now he had already shed his immaturity and was no longer a youth. He slowly walked in front of her. Su Rongfei subconsciously straightened his body and greeted him respectfully, Brother Cheng, just call me Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng said with a smile. You call me Brother Lu better than Brother Cheng. Don't you know the 2D world? As he spoke, he glanced at the 30 boys and girls who were brimming with childishness. He felt their excitement for the first time. Practicing martial arts was still a barbaric thing for the kids. Before the hardships, it would be full of fun. After exchanging a few pleasantries, Lu Qing, Qin Rui, and Su Rongfei greeted each other and continued to walk around the training ground on the first floor. Looking at their backs, a girl asked curiously, Coach Su, who is that? I didn't see him in the registration book before. The registration book would list the coaches in charge of each class. The strong ones would be described in detail, while the ordinary ones would be described in brief. The applicants were allowed to choose which class to join until they were full. Su Rongfei thought about Dai Linfeng's words and sighed. He's the new coach of the VIP class. Wow, the VIP class. The students in the class of 30 expressed their admiration and yearning. That's the martial arts class personally taught by the dojo master. That big brother who looked so strong just now was on the same level as the dojo master? After walking around the martial arts school, Qin Rui sent Lu Qing off. When they waved goodbye, they saw Chu Weikai leading Dai Linfeng out in a hurry. Chairman Wei invited us over. Are you interested in joining us? Chu Weikai stopped in front of Lu Qing and asked politely. No thanks. Lu Qing declined the invitation. Then we'll go first. Chu Weikai didn't waste time and went straight to the parking lot with Dai Linfeng. Qin Rui walked to Lu Qing's side and said with a smile, It's probably about the preliminaries again. Lu Qing nodded. He had a rough idea of what was going on. Qin Rui continued, Previously, a few teams from Xioshan were eliminated in the group stage. Chairman Wei has a rough idea of our standards. He plans to select 5 to 6 fighters from a few big martial arts schools and invite 1 or 2 locally born professional 9th pin fighters to undergo special training for half a year. It's said that not only will they be provided with funds, they will also be provided with internal training methods and a good coach. It's not like you don't have a chance if you work hard. After all, you're already of amateur first pin. Lu Qing saw the envy on Qin Rui's face and comforted him. I'll try my best. Qin Rui took a deep breath and smiled. During this time, Chairman Wei has been inviting a few locally born professional 9th pin fighters to come back for a discussion. Today it's most likely because of this matter. In my opinion, the most suitable coach is here. Qing, with your strength, won't you be able to defeat them? Me? I don't have the time. Lu Qing shook his head. If everything went well, when the preliminaries were in full swing next year, he would be on his way to the National University Martial Arts Competition. Chapter 229. After saying goodbye to Qin Rui and returning home, Lu Qing found the medicine jar and other things that he had bought online. He followed the instructions of the prescription step by step to complete the decoction. When everything was ready, Lu Qing, who had never done anything like this before, finally heaved a sigh of relief. He looked at his phone and noted down the current time. If he screwed up, it would be a waste of money. At this moment, Qi Yunfei, wearing a short-sleeved nightgown, walked to the kitchen door, rubbed her sleepy eyes and asked, Brother Lu Qing, what are you doing? Are you sick? Doesn't look like it. Practicing martial arts medicinal soup. Lu Qing answered concisely. Oh. Qi Yunfei's face showed that although she didn't understand, she always felt that it was very awesome. Finally she swallowed and asked, Brother Lu Qing, is there anything to eat? I'm starving. Lu Qing looked at her with annoyance and amusement. You said you didn't sleep early or late. What's wrong with that? Wouldn't it be better to sleep for 1 more hour? Wait, it's already 11 o'clock. My mom will be back soon to cook. Do I have to wait so long? I'm starving. Qi Yunfei pouted and said with grievance. Listening to her voice and feeling her tone, Lu Qing suddenly thought of the crying expression on her face. He laughed and said, Don't you have a lot of snacks? They can't fill my stomach. Humph, if your girlfriend is hungry, you definitely won't have such an attitude. Qi Yunfei pouted and said. Lu Qing was stunned. Why do you say that? Qi Yunfei quickly turned from anger to joy and said with a smile, Yesterday when we were eating barbecue, your expression when you took the photo and sent the message was so gentle that I could pinch water out of it. I thought of a word, spoiling smile. Lu Qing's mind suddenly showed the classic expression of Shiba Inu. His mouth twitched and said, Where did you learn this word? In a novel. Qi Yunfei answered firmly. Then she asked curiously, What would you do if your girlfriend was hungry? Lu Qing thought for a moment and said with a smile, I'll treat her to my well-honed egg fried rice. If there's anything else she wants to eat, she can order it. If not, I'll hurry out and buy it for her. As for you? Well, there's a box at the corner of the table. There are a few boxes of instant noodles in it. His mother had a strange hobby. She liked to keep a box of instant noodles at home, but she didn't eat them herself. He didn't know why. You value a girl over a girl. Qi Yunfei looked as if she had suffered a blow. Isn't this too clear? Your girlfriend is treated so well and I'm only fit to eat instant noodles? Lu Qing thought for a moment and answered seriously, Yes. Wasn't that obvious? Of course his girlfriend was more important than his sister. Chi Yunfei covered her face and left the kitchen. She walked to the table and said loudly after a few seconds, "Braised beef noodles? I hate this the most. Brother Lu Cheng, don't you have any other flavors?" "No. Just put up with it. It's time to eat," Lu Cheng answered coldly. He took a photo of the medicine pot sitting on the fire with his mobile phone and sent it to Yenjika. He shared with her his first experience of decocting medicinal materials. When time passed and everything was done, he mixed the two decoctions together and filled a big bowl. He took a photo again and sent it to Yenjika with a snickering emoji. "It's a black bowl. Will I be poisoned?" Yenjika replied, "Do you need mouth-to-mouth resuscitation? Hey, you've learned to flirt with me? No, I'm poisoned. Hurry up and give me mouth-to-mouth resuscitation." Lu Cheng replied with a smile. Yenjika sent a proud emoji. "I didn't say it was me. My dad used to take this as an elective. He's very good at it." "Then forget it." Lu Cheng replied with an emoji of looking blankly at the sky. He was tricked by Yenjika again. Yenjika sent an emoji of laughing. "Who told you to always think the wrong way? You big pervert. Actually, I've checked the information and asked people. As long as the prescription given by Coach Sure is correct, it doesn't matter if you make a little mistake. At most, the medicine will be a little less effective." "Then I'm relieved. I'll drink a bowl and try it later." Lu Cheng took out another 2 bowls and divided the decoction into 2 portions. He would drink 1 portion later and the other portion tomorrow morning. His master had said that the decoction could be kept cold in the refrigerator. In the future, he would drink a bowl before morning training and another half an hour after breakfast. He didn't intend to reduce the intensity of his summer training. In addition to morning training, he also planned to have 2 hours of special training in the morning. He could also use the strength training gym of the martial arts school during his part-time work. Of course, this was summer. He could change the schedule if he wanted to, but the total amount would remain the same. At around 1 o'clock, Lu Cheng watched Chi Yunfei sneak out of the house with the excuse of going shopping with her friends. He changed into his martial arts suit again and gulped down the bitter decoction. He didn't find a shady place in the community to do his special training. That way he wouldn't need to wait until tomorrow. At night, everyone in the community would know that Lu Jisheng was addicted to martial arts and didn't do his job properly. Under the scorching sun of early July, Lu Cheng walked on the steaming hot ground and jogged to the nearest park at noon when there were few people on the road. He wanted to let the decoction dissolve little by little. When he arrived at the park, he felt a little warm in his stomach. So he used the power of frost to get rid of the high temperature on the surface of his body and to stop the flow of sweat. He found a shady place, took a posture and began to practice the thunder roar zen. Every move was slow and dull, but it could stir up the wind. At the same time, the thunder in his stomach continued. His muscles compressed and relaxed and vibrated continuously. Along with the effect of the decoction, he refined his strength into the smallest part of his body. After a few punches and kicks, he, who was half in meditation, was keenly aware that there was a trace of heat flowing into every part of his body. With the vibration of the thunder roar, it slowly forced out the impurities and condensed the purity. Bam! Bam! The airflow kept exploding. Lu Cheng's punches were slower and heavier than the one before. There was no need for special effects, but it was enough to frighten the audience. After an unknown amount of time, he withdrew his posture and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. He had reached the limit of his current tempering. Although there were no signs or understanding of withdrawing, he felt that the strength in his body was slowly and subtly changing. With his own polishing, they gradually developed a feeling called penetrating. Penetrating. Lu Cheng pondered over the words that could best describe the signs just now. Once again he used the cold current to get rid of the heat. Well, other things aside, the power of frost is still very useful in this regard. I, Lu Cheng, am a walking air conditioner. While his thoughts were running wild, he suddenly heard the phone in his pocket ring. He took it out and saw that it was a call from Director Xing Qinggu. "Hello, Uncle Xing?" Lu Cheng vaguely guessed what was going on. Director Xing laughed and said, "Are you on vacation? Have you returned to Xioshan?" "I just arrived yesterday." Lu Cheng answered honestly. "I knew that Ku had returned home, so I thought you should have already arrived. If you're free, please come over. I didn't treat you to a meal last time." Director Xing made small talk. "Sure." Lu Cheng replied politely. Director Xing sighed and said with a smile, "Don't be shy. Don't think that you're trying to curry favor with an official. You can't cross the moral threshold in your heart. I've been paying attention to your matches for the past few months. I really feel that you have a bright future ahead of you. Sai, it's impossible for me not to grow old in this lifetime. I have to think about the future of my children and family. It's a good thing for me to get to know a young talent like you, a very good thing. Hehe, don't you feel better now that you think about it? Lu Cheng's thoughts, which were difficult for him to detect and accurately describe, were directly exposed. For a moment he blushed with shame. I don't have such thoughts. I sincerely treat you as an uncle. Uncle Xing's style of speaking was really like his personality, straightforward and direct. That's good. Back to business. Wang Su's case will be heard next Friday afternoon. As a secret witness you have to attend. Don't worry, there won't be any outsiders. I guarantee your safety. Be prepared and dress decently. Don't be like a boor like me who was always laughed at because of my clothes. Director Xing said heartily. After the frank and honest words, Lu Cheng also felt relieved. He smiled and said, okay. Was Wang Su's case finally coming to an end? After today's training, Qin Rui returned home and lay on his bed. Thinking of what happened before, he logged into QQ and found the well-informed person in his mind. Fatty Jiang, are you there? Can I ask you something? Jiang Fei had just woken up on the train and replied in boredom, what's the matter? Qin Rui was not a beauty. He did not need a good attitude. Do you know who in our grade got into Songqing? Qin Rui asked. Why do you ask this? Jiang Fei answered blankly, I only know 4. Qing Yanzhika Gu Chao from class 7, Li Liang from class 8 and there may be others. Gu Chao from class 7, Li Liang from class 8. Qin Rui tried hard to recall these 2 classmates but he really did not know them. He could only ask again, which school are Gu Chao and Li Liang in? Are they both boys? Isn't that obvious? Gu Chao is in Songqing Technology and Li Liang is in Songbei Normal University. Jiang Fei only felt that Qin Rui's question was ridiculous. 2 boys, only Yanzhika was a girl. Qin Rui suddenly gasped. No way, but Fatty Jiang's information was not detailed enough so it could not be accurate. Do you know who else in Xiushan got into Songqing? He asked cautiously. Jiang Fei replied in a bad mood, how would I know about other schools? Qin Rui thought for a while and decided to change the topic. You said Qing has a girlfriend. Do you know who she is? Are you stupid? I have never seen her or know her. How would I know? Jiang Fei said with an angry smile, I'll ask Qing face to face tomorrow. This bastard actually left the single life without a word. I see. Qin Rui was not sure, but he suddenly had some guesses and associations. He asked to confirm, there are only 2 girls in Songqing University, right? Should be. Who doesn't show off when they get into this kind of university? I remember it's only Cheng and Yanzhika. Jiang Fei answered without thinking. Only Cheng and Yanzhika in Songqing University? Qin Rui gasped again. It can't be. In her own bedroom in her grandfather's house, Yanzhika was holding her phone and rolling around. Then she took out the ring on her necklace and sighed faintly. I haven't seen Qing for a day. Chapter 230. Because Yanzhika was asked by her grandparents to stay in Jianghu County for a few more days, Lu Qing could only continue his single life. He took medicine, did morning exercises, had special training for breakfast, took a shower and chatted on QQ, while Qi Yunfei happily went out for a date. Just when he was thinking that he hadn't seen Ku for 2 days, he suddenly heard a rude knock on the door. Knock knock knock. Who is it? Lu Qing casually shouted. In fact, according to this style, he could guess who it was even with his toes. It's me. Jiang Fei answered with a loud voice. He didn't consider whether the other person knew who he was. It was as good as not saying anything. Lu Qing put on his slippers and walked to the shoe cabinet. He opened the door and saw Jiang Fei, who was neither fat nor thin. He was carrying a laptop bag and looking at the scene in the room stealthily. Cheng Chili stood behind him with a face full of gossip. What are you looking at? Lu Qing laughed and scolded. Jiang Fei laughed and said, I don't want to disturb you. Well, no, you are probably a poor foreign dog now. He entered the room and changed his shoes as if he was back at home. Cheng, you didn't tell me you had a girlfriend. You are not a good friend. Cheng Chili combed his 3/7-part hair. What can you do if I tell you? I can't help you get monitor. Lu Qing replied with sophistry. Cheng Chili was speechless for a moment. After a long time he murmured, I can be happy for you. We are brothers. How can you hide such a good thing from me? I thought that if Fatty Jiang knew you would know. Lu Qing closed the door and walked to the living room with Cheng Chili. But Jiang Fei had already arrived at the door of his bedroom and made a strange cry. Ching, you slept with a girl in your room. You didn't take her to meet your parents directly, did you? She's only a freshman. You're awesome. Lu Ching stared at him and said, where is your IQ? My cousin came to Xioshan to play and I was kicked out to sleep in the living room. You have met Chi Yunfei. Jiang Fei was a little disappointed. Then he winked and joked, you mean the cute one? She is in her first year of high school, right? Does she have a boyfriend? Ching, I suddenly think it's good for you to be a brother-in-law. Lu Ching said with anger and amusement, it's too late for you to think about it now. She has had a boyfriend 800 years ago. Jiang Fei sucked in a breath of cold air. Children nowadays, how old are they to have boyfriends? And I'm still single to this day. This is really a sad thing. Ching, you said you were still pursuing her during the winter vacation. When did you succeed? Cheng Chili was quite curious and pulled the topic back to the right track. There was no need to hide this. Lu Ching smiled proudly and said, after winter break, right after school starts. Cheng Chili was speechless and could only give him a thumbs up. For a moment, Lu Ching saw himself who used to look up to little Ming in his eyes. Come. Let us get to know sister-in-law. Do you have a picture of her? There must be. Jiang Fei put down his laptop bag, leaned over, and smiled shyly. Calm. Look. Calm. It. Cut the crap. You don't want to show it to us, right? Jiang Fei was not misled and got the point. Lu Ching laughed and said, yes. Really. I will treat you to dinner with her in the future. It feels weird to show you her picture. If Fatty Jiang knew that his girlfriend was Ku, then the whole class would know as well. Once the whole class knew, then the whole grade would know as well. Sooner or later, it would reach Ku's father's ears. What's so strange about it? So mysterious. Jiang Fei had a high EQ. Sensing the insistence in Lu Cheng's tone, he only muttered one sentence and did not ask any more questions. Instead, he emphasized, you have to keep your word. When are you going to invite your girlfriend to treat us to a meal? Even if you're treating us in Songqing, I'll still run over. Okay, when the dust settles. Lu Cheng promised and then changed the topic. Old Ching, how is it going between you and Monitor? Any progress? She had been too busy last semester to have a good talk with Cheng Chili about this. Well, it's still the same. Cheng Chili sighed. Lin is busy with the class and the student union every day. We don't have much time to talk. Hey, you're calling her Lin. Lu Ching joked. Jiang Fei shook his head. Monitor's character is like this. She likes to get involved in these things. She's very strong and has a strong desire to control. Old Ching, you have to think about it carefully. I like her this way. Cheng Chili answered weakly, I feel like I can't get into her life. You're not in the same school and you're a standard otaku who hates the chores in class and the student union. It's hard to get into Monitor's life. Lu Ching frowned. It's okay. I'll ask a real expert for you. The three of them chatted for a while, then they lined up the computers and played online games. Jiang Fei and Cheng Chili saw that Lu Ching picked up the phone from time to time and replied to the messages. They were more sure that he was in a relationship and was not bragging. This also made them more confused. What was there to hide about being in a relationship? Especially on the boy's side. Even if his parents knew, they would probably be happy to see it. After playing for a few hours, the two of them put on their laptop bags, left Lu Cheng's house slowly and got into Fatty Jiang's car. Jiang Fei thought about Lu Cheng's attitude while fastening his seat belt. Suddenly he said, Oh. Old Cheng, I know what's wrong. I smell the smell of gossip. What's wrong? Cheng Chili was not sensitive enough in this aspect. Old Cheng, think about it. We all know that Cheng is in a relationship. There's no need for him to hide who his girlfriend is. Jiang Fei pointed out the problem. If his girlfriend is from another city, we don't know her. Even if we see the photo, it won't have any effect at all. The gossip won't spread to that side. What do you mean? Cheng Chili understood Jiang Fei's unspoken words. We know his girlfriend. That's why he wants to hide it. Jiang Fei said proudly, we know her? She's not our classmate, is she? Monitor? Bah? You dog mouth. Cheng Chili scolded angrily. Jiang Fei turned the car key and started the ignition. He said casually, I'm just guessing. Hey, do you think it's Chow Lele? They've been desk mates for a long time. They're both studying in another city, so they're lonely. Maybe they can chat on QQ. Maybe they'll be together? It's possible. Cheng Chili answered seriously. It could also be Li Mingjia. She's studying in Donglin close to Cheng. Jiang Fei continued to guess. Ching Chili sneered, that's nothing. There's someone closer. Yenjika is still in Songqing University. How is that possible? Jiang Fei laughed subconsciously, but suddenly, his hand froze in place as he was about to pull the handbrake. No way, this is simply unimaginable. It's been 3 days since I last saw Ku. Lu Qing finished his training, had breakfast, took a shower and changed his clothes. He took his keys and wallet, put on a clean martial arts suit, and took a taxi to Gushan Martial Arts School. Today was Monday. If there were no accidents, the first 10,000 yuan would be transferred to him today. Since it was his first time here, Chu Weikai, Dai Linfeng and Qin Rui all accompanied him to the VIP class's special training ground. Lu Qing looked around and found that they were all teenagers. The oldest was about 17 or 18 years old, and the youngest was about 12 or 13 years old. There were 6 boys and 4 girls, all dressed neatly. From the details he could see that they were all from good families. To be honest, although Lu Qing was only 19.5 years old, which was not much better than the oldest student, with his current mentality, looking back at high school students was like looking at children. Students, this is Coach Lu Qing, the martial arts school specially invited for you. He's a real professional 9th pin fighter, much better than me. He'll be teaching you from now on. Dai Linfeng introduced Lu Qing to the students. A 14 or 15-year-old girl giggled, really? Better than you, Coach Dai? Why don't you have a fight and show us? Her eyes were bright, full of curiosity and excitement. The new coach looked cool and strong. She wondered how he would fare in a real fight. How much better is a professional 9th pin fighter than an amateur 1st pin fighter? Wu Ting, don't be naughty. Coach Lu will punish you to run 10 laps later. Dai Linfeng laughed. Lu Qing took a step forward, smiled and said, hello everyone. I'm Lu Qing. Earlier, Coach Dai and the others told me that at the beginning of the class, I should show off in front of you and frighten you so that it would be easier to control later. I've been thinking about how to do that. His frank words immediately amused the 10.5-year-old children, causing the whole hall to roar with laughter. The new coach was so interesting. Wu Ting, who had 2 ponytails, shouted cheerfully, breaking stones with your chest. Coach Lu, I support you. Lu Qing smiled, this is not a skill. Club Master Chu, can I borrow your sandbag? He pointed at the sandbag not far away. Okay, you don't have to pay for it if you break it. Chu Weikai said with a smile. Qin Rui and Dai Linfeng were waiting with great interest. They wanted to see what kind of tricks Lu Qing would play with the sandbag. It wouldn't be easy to show off by hitting the sandbag, right? Wu Ting and the other students followed Lu Qing's gaze. They watched him walk to the sandbag and push it to feel its material and weight. Would Coach Lu Qing break the sandbag directly? It didn't seem too difficult, right? Lu Qing took a step back and began to adjust his muscles and tendons, wriggling the corresponding 5 viscera and 6 bowels. This was the preparation for the severe warning. But Lu Qing didn't plan to use it in conjunction with visualization. He didn't need to be so serious in order to show off his power. He planned to use the severe warning to inject his power into the sandbag in an instant, faster than the shaking of the sandbag so that it couldn't dissipate the power. Then he would use the Thunder Roar Zen to detonate it in an instant. Lu Qing took a deep breath. His back muscles bulged and his shoulders exploded. His right arm popped out and hit the sandbag with the heart-drilling hammer. Bang. After a dull sound, the sandbag didn't move an inch. What is he doing? Wu Ting and the other students were confused. Dai Linfeng and Qin Rui were also confused. Only Chu Wei's pupils suddenly contracted. Boom. In an instant, the sandbag in front of Lu Qing exploded, as if it had been installed with a bomb. It shattered into pieces from the inside out. Fine sand fell like rain from the sky. Wu Ting and the others were stunned. There wasn't much sand in Lu Qing's original direction, so he still felt refreshed. He walked back slowly. He broke the sandbag, literally breaking it. Wu Ting and the other students had never seen such a thing before. They only felt that it was much cooler than breaking a sandbag. Coach Lu is so awesome. Chu Weikai looked at Lu Qing walking back and sighed deeply. The younger generation will surpass us in time. Teach them well. We'll leave first. Okay. Lu Qing smiled and nodded. Qin Rui and Dai Linfeng, who were still in a daze, followed Chu Weikai up the stairs to the 3rd floor. Only then did Qin Rui find it funny. Can those little brats understand Lu Qing's punch just now? He's just flirting with blind people. At most, they'll think it's cool. They won't feel like they're being shown off. Dai Linfeng took a deep breath and stole a glance at his teacher. He smiled bitterly. I feel like we're being shown off. Chapter 231. Practice Field. Lu Cheng glanced at the cleaning lady and said to the excited students, "Introduce yourselves or I won't know who you are. Start from the left." He had seen the name list of this class in Chu Waitsai's office, but he couldn't match them with real people. He only knew that the active and talkative girl was Wu Ting. The girl on the far left had short hair. She smiled sweetly and said, "I'm Zhang Qiufan, 12 years old. I'll be in the first grade of experimental high school soon." She was the youngest kid in the VIP class. Lu Qing nodded slightly. He had a plan for her training so as not to affect her physical development. Only the VIP class had this kind of care. Which coach could take care of so many people at the same time? How could he teach according to each person's condition? "I'm Yao Ruiwei, 15 years old. I'm in the 3rd grade of number 1 middle school. I'll be in the 1st grade of high school when school starts." The little fatty, about 165 meters tall and about the same weight, introduced himself. Feifei's classmate in 2 months. Lu Qing smiled and observed Yao Ruiwei's body shape. He found that Yao Ruiwei was weak on the inside and strong on the outside. He had to pay attention to the amount of training or it would be easy to cause problems. "Damn, even my master didn't teach me so seriously. I'm Li Lei, 18 years old. I'm in the 3rd grade of Taichung High School. I'll be going to Hudong University soon." The oldest student in the VIP class said proudly. He was about 170 meters tall with a strong body and thick and messy eyebrows. The teaching quality of Taichung High School is average, but the fighting atmosphere is very strong. It's not bad to be admitted to Hudong University there. Lu Qing thought casually. Hudong University is just an ordinary key university. "I'm Wu Ting, 15 years old. I'm in the number 1 middle school." After 5 or 6 students, it was finally the turn of the girl with 2 ponytails and white skin. She deliberately emphasized that she was admitted by herself, as if she was afraid that others would misunderstand that she had spent money. She had a clear spirit and a strong body. This girl must have been practicing. At least she had some martial arts experience. Lu Qing nodded thoughtfully. By the time all the students had finished their self-introductions, he had roughly matched the names of the people and had a preliminary understanding of the physical condition of each of the 10 people. "Well, I'll teach you some kung fu to calm your mind and restrain your qi. Consider it a warm-up," Lu Qing said calmly. Wu Ting immediately raised her hand and asked excitedly, "Coach Lu, are you going to teach us meditation?" This was one of the most basic things of profound martial arts. "Don't think too much." Lu Qing smiled. "At your age you haven't fully matured yet. You haven't reached the level of vigorous qi and blood of an adult. The more you practice the still stance, the more tired you get. The more you practice the still stance, the worse your spirit will be. Your body will also feel like it's hollowed out. What I'm going to teach you is just a little trick to calm your mind and collect your qi. It will help you enter the state of tempering as soon as possible." Among the students present, Li Lei was the only one who could try the still stance, but there was no need to give him special treatment. After all, Headmaster Chu and Qin Rui had already said that this was only for the sake of strengthening the body. The students were first amused by his trendy humor and lost their voices. They felt that there was not much of a generation gap between them and their coach. Then they were slightly disappointed and expressed their regret for the hopeless still stance. After a short period of calming down, Lu Qing continued as planned. "Next, I'll teach you the horse stance and pole standing." "Horse stance? Coach Lu, you're so good. Why are you teaching us such things? I thought you were going to directly teach us the moves and force generation techniques." Wu Ting raised her hand again and said eagerly, "You talk too much." Lu Qing scolded in his heart. He smiled and said, "You don't have any foundation. Your backs are very stiff and your legs are very loose. If you don't practice your pole standing well, even if I teach you the moves and force generation techniques now, you'll only be able to put on some fancy stances at most. Punches will be like massages." Speaking of this, his face became serious. Moreover, no matter how profound or powerful the martial arts are, it starts with the basic pole standing step by step. How can a 10,000-foot tall building be built from the ground? Do you know how deep the foundation is? Do you know how much time and effort I've put into the basic pole standing to get to where I am today? His lofty image of breaking a sandbag with one punch was still fresh in his mind. Wu Ting and the others quickly quieted down and nodded. "You can't stay in the horse stance. You have to have a rise and fall and a change in your center of gravity. It's like riding a real horse. Pay attention to my posture. I'll tell you in detail how to exert force from the feet to the ankle joint to the knee joint." Lu Qing didn't follow the script. Instead, he incorporated some of the insights he gained from his training and the insights he gained from the concealment of spirit and qi in meditation. Zhang Qiufan, Yao Ruiwei and the others were newcomers. For the time being they were still very enthusiastic. They listened very seriously and attentively. Soon, according to Lu Cheng's instructions, they were in the horse stance. Lu Cheng walked around them and observed them one by one. He immediately pointed out if there was something wrong with the posture. If there was something wrong with the force generation, he would help them correct it with a tap of his foot or a twist of his hand. Remember how you feel now. This is the most suitable posture for you. Lu Cheng stood beside Zhang Qiufan with his arms crossed and reminded her. Yes, Coach Lu. Zhang Qiufan was the youngest and also the most timid. She answered meticulously. Lu Cheng took out his phone and looked at the time. He then came to Yao Ruiwei and found that the little fatty was already trembling. Sweat was gathering on his forehead. Lu Cheng didn't say anything. He just watched for a few minutes. Suddenly he said, "You can take a break at the side." He always kept in mind that these half-grown kids were here to strengthen their bodies, not to practice martial arts. Yao Ruiwei was clenching his teeth and persevering when he suddenly heard the coach's order. He suddenly felt that he was hallucinating. He pointed at himself and asked doubtfully, "Only me? Only I can rest?" "Yes, you can rest for 10 minutes. Lu Cheng answered with a smile. Wu Ting, who was sitting in the back row, couldn't stand it. She shouted, "Coach Lu, you're biased. Why can he rest but we can't? When you guys grow as fat as him, you can also rest in advance." Lu Cheng said half-jokingly. Wu Ting, Zhang Qiufan and the others laughed out loud. One by one they said, "We don't want to." Lu Cheng withdrew his gaze and looked at the little fatty who was in pain because of his joke. He said seriously, "Yao Ruiwei, do you think I'm exposing your scars? As the saying goes, don't hit people in the face when you hit them." No. Yao Ruiwei lowered his head and answered. Lu Cheng maintained a serious expression. "I've read the information and know that you weren't born fat. You came to the martial arts class this time with the intention of losing weight, right?" "Yes." Yao Ruiwei answered honestly. "That's why I'll remind you often and stimulate you so that you won't forget the purpose of training, lose your motivation and slack off. Train well and in 2 months, let's see if you're still fat." Lu Cheng suddenly emphasized. Yao Ruiwei clenched his teeth. "Yes, Coach Lu. Pole standing training, rest, pole standing training, rest." Lu Cheng controlled the rhythm and let the students gradually master a few basic skills. He also increased their training load little by little. During the break he didn't waste any time. He opened up his stance and practiced the Thunder Roar Zen in the center of the field. Through the vibration he catalyzed the effect of the medicine and refined his body. In the sound of the airflow exploding, Li Lei, Zhang Qiufan and the other students were excited and eager to give it a try. "Sounds awesome." Yao Ruiwei, the little fatty, muttered to himself. Li Lei took a breath and said, "When can I train to such a sound?" Wu Ting rolled her eyes at them. "It's still too early." "My dad said that if you can train to such a sound, it's already an important step in martial arts. If you're more familiar with your punches and kicks, you can even go to the ranking ceremony." After more than 2 hours, Lu Cheng looked at the students who were a little irritated and disgusted. He clapped his hands and said, "Okay, that's all for the basics. Next, I'll teach you the basic moves and the corresponding force exertion skills." Wu Ting, Zhang Qiufan and the others immediately cheered. They felt a sense of relief and became excited again. However, they soon realized that they had just jumped from one heated brick bed to another. The repetitive practice of punching and kicking was extremely boring. Their limbs were especially sore and weak. "Coach Lu, can't you let us practice with each other? I see that the other classes are also sparring." During the break, Wu Ting complained, feeling wronged. "That's because they're messing around," Lu Cheng said bluntly. Lu Cheng commented bluntly. "Two rookies will only develop bad habits and make inaccurate movements. When the time comes, it will be difficult to correct them." When he was in the martial arts special training, he was always guided by senior brothers and sisters of high ranks. "Then we can spar with you, right? If we don't have enough time, we can pay Coach Lu to guide us alone." Wu Ting raised her hand and suggested. Lu Cheng laughed. "Let's talk about it after you've mastered the basic moves and force exertion skills. I'll leave some time for practice in the class. It's not worth the money." His training intensity was only 1/3 of the martial arts special training. In other words, this group of half-grown kids could only practice with each other next week. After that he looked at the clock on the wall. "Okay, time's up. If you feel sore and tired, You can pay the physiotherapist of the martial arts school. The rest of you don't have to. Go home and do some relaxation exercises. Then you'll feel better. After watching Lu Qing leave the practice field, Wu Ting lowered her voice and said, Coach Lu is really different. I heard from other classes that their coaches like to encourage them to practice with each other. Unlike Coach Lu, he doesn't want us to practice with each other. It means that Coach Lu is really teaching us attentively. He doesn't need to teach us the good stuff until we practice with each other. Li Lei wiped his sweat and answered seriously. After finding a physiotherapist to relax, Wu Ting returned home. She was surprised to find that her very busy father, Wu Qingrui, didn't go out. What a rare guest. She felt wronged and joked. Wu Qingrui hugged his daughter and stroked her hair. I want to come back to accompany you whenever I'm free. How about it? How do you feel about your new coach? Wu Ting knew that her father started out as a martial artist, but failed to pass the ranking event of professional ninth pin several times. Later he switched to other industries and made a fortune, reaching the pinnacle of life. However, no matter what, his vision and knowledge were still there. He was still her idol. So she excitedly chattered, Our coach is super awesome. He blew up the sandbag with one punch. Blew up? Wu Qingrui asked in confusion. Did she mean it literally or was she exaggerating? Wu Ting gestured with her hands and said, He really blew it up. Like this, he blew it up. Wu Qingrui's mouth was half open. After a while he muttered to himself, Is this something a professional ninth pin can do? Since when did Xiushan have such a powerful fighter? And he came here to teach a half-grown child? Wu Ting noticed the change in her father's expression. Suddenly a thought flashed through her mind. Coach Lu may be many times more powerful than we thought. After lunch and the strength training gymnasium, the temporarily single Lu Cheng called Qin Rui and asked him to come to the martial arts school in the afternoon for guidance on still stance. Qin Rui laughed and said, You're free so soon? You haven't had a date with your girlfriend recently. Lu Cheng answered casually, She went to her grandfather's house. After saying that, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. How did Qin Rui know that he often saw his girlfriend? Maybe he just asked casually. I can't reveal anything in the future. Qin Rui hung up the phone and quickly sent a message to Jiang Fei. Fatty Jiang, go and ask Song Li if Yan Zhika went to her grandfather's house. Chapter 232. When Jiang Fei received the message, he immediately opened up a discussion group. Initially, he did not have Song Li's QQ number. However, after spreading the news of Song Li and Du Liu's relationship, Du Liu pulled him into this discussion group. After receiving Song Li's criticism and education, Jiang Fei made a deep self-reflection and self-criticism. Fleeting memories, Song Li, are you there? Can I ask you something? At this moment, Jiang Fei was feeling nervous, excited, expectant and excited. He wanted to confirm something but also wanted to deny something. It was quite contradictory. Fleeting memories, Song Li quickly replied, What's the matter? Don't ask for a secret, I won't tell a blabbermouth like you. Jiang Fei took a deep breath and typed on the keyboard, Yan Zhika is at her grandfather's house these days, right? Why do you ask? Song Li replied warily, suspecting that Fatty Jiang had ulterior motives. Jiang Fei picked up the cup beside him and took a sip, then typed, I want to confirm something. If you tell me the answer, I'll tell you a secret later. Song Li's curiosity was piqued. What secret? You tell me first. It seemed to be about Yan Zhika. If you don't answer my question, I can't confirm the secret. Jiang Fei revealed a little bit of his bottom line. Song Li thought for a while and felt that it was not too important, so she replied, Yan Zhika is at her grandfather's house. She also promised to go shopping with me when I come back. She was really at her grandfather's house. Jiang Fei only saw the first half of the sentence and his jaw dropped. Even though he was already prepared, his heart was still in turmoil. Images of the past flashed through his mind. She was wearing a military training uniform, but she was still beautiful and eye-catching. The fun and joy of sneaking glances at Class 3 with Cheng and the others when they passed by Class 3, every little detail of her passed by word of mouth, the most beautiful and pure memories of youth and girls. During the winter holidays, Cheng chatted with a gentle smile on his face on his mobile phone. I'm so stupid, I should have guessed it earlier. Jiang Fei patted his forehead and suddenly remembered that he had asked Lu Cheng if the girl he was chasing was a classmate of Songqing University. Lu Cheng's answer was yes. She was a classmate of Songqing University and someone I knew. Who else could it be but Yenjika? Hey Fatty Jiang, where's the promised secret? Where are you? Song Li asked when she saw that Jiang Fei had not replied for a long time. Jiang Fei subconsciously raised his hand to reply, but accidentally knocked over the glass of water beside him. With a crash, the water spilled out. He hurriedly picked up the computer, pulled out a tissue and wiped the desktop. Suddenly, he sighed and cursed under his breath. Damn Ching, I'm so envious of you. He was happy for his good friend from the bottom of his heart, but there was also a faint sense of melancholy and disappointment. Cheng was not the only one who had a crush on Yenjika. That was the purest and most innocent dream that many boys had of their youth in high school. But now it was monopolized by Cheng. This guy actually managed to win Yenjika's heart. Although he has become very strong now, I still can't believe that Yenjika likes him. Jiang Fei calmed down all kinds of emotions, put down the computer and replied to Song Li, the secret is that Yenjika is in love. After sending this sentence, he felt an inexplicable sense of loss. What? Yenjika is in love? How come I didn't know? Song Li said in shock. She had been in contact with Yenjika every day. How could she not know that she was in love? She must be lying, right? No. Song Li suddenly remembered that this semester, her focus had been on Du Liu. She was in the phase of being in love and had subconsciously neglected many things. She thought carefully and remembered that Yenjika would mention the martial arts club from time to time. And every time she did, a familiar name would come up. It's with Lu Cheng, right? Song Li suddenly realized and asked in return. Why am I so slow? When a girl inadvertently mentioned a boy's name repeatedly, the meaning was self-evident. *CK, how did Song Li guess it so quickly? Cheng and Yenjika were so obvious? Jiang Fei was stunned and replied, yes, they have been together since last semester. It was hard to imagine what Yenjika would be like when she was in love. At this moment, Jiang Fei, who had told Qin Rui the result, suddenly frowned and felt that he had made a mistake. To be honest, if he had won Yenjika's heart, he would have spread the news to the whole class. Why did Qing want to hide it? Could it be that he had no choice but to do so? Damn it, I've already said it. Why can't I control my mouth? Jiang Fei picked up his phone nervously and decided to call Lu Qing first. Surrendering should not be a death sentence, right? Beep. Lu Qing picked up his phone and saw that the down payment of 10,000 yuan had been received. He smiled at Qin Rui and said, stop for a while and try again. Don't rush. The more you rush, the harder it will be to meditate. Okay. Qin Rui opened his eyes and moved his neck. He took the phone back from the machine beside him. It's really Yenjika? He took a closer look and his knees almost gave out. There was only one thought in his mind, I'm kneeling down to Brother Lu. What's wrong? Lu Qing noticed his abnormality and asked with concern. But as soon as he finished speaking, he felt the phone in his hand vibrate violently. Fatty Jiang? Lu Qing picked up the phone in confusion. Hello, Fatty Jiang, what's up? Why did he have to call me in such a hurry? Jiang Fei swallowed hard and said, Qing, tell me the truth. Are you in love with Yenjika? Lu Qing felt like he was struck by lightning. He was stunned for a while and said, how did you know? He was going to deny it, but when the words came to his mouth, he couldn't say it. This was one of the things he was most proud of. You didn't want to tell me who your girlfriend is, right? I thought if we don't even know your girlfriend, you don't have to hide it. So, she must be someone we know. Jiang Fei was about to blurt out Qin Rui's accomplice, but suddenly realized something and stopped. He planned to cover it up with Cheng's own disclosure during the winter vacation. However, Lu Qing suddenly remembered Qin Rui's strange question. He turned around and glared at Qin Rui. Qin Rui's knees were really weak. So you asked Qin Rui to trick me? Lu Qing interrupted Jiang Fei's statement. I'm just curious. Jiang Fei laughed dryly. Lu Qing said unhappily, why are you so nosy? I didn't say it because I was afraid you would spread it around. Hey Fatty Jiang, you didn't tell anyone, right? I did. Jiang Fei answered weakly. Then he mustered up his courage and said, why don't you just tell me and tell me not to spread it? I don't even know what's going on. How can I keep it a secret? Lu Qing felt like he was going to faint. Who did you tell? Du Liu also told you not to spread it? How am I supposed to trust your mouth now? Qin Rui, Song Li, maybe Du Liu will see it too. Jiang Fei answered honestly. Qin Rui, Song Li, Du Liu? Good, the situation is still under control. Lu Qing was slightly relieved. He didn't have time to strangle Fatty Jiang. He planned to solve the problem first. Hurry up and tell Song Li and Du Liu not to spread it. I'll ask Ko to tell them again. Leave Qin Rui to me. So smooth and affectionate. Jiang Fei almost burst into tears. He quickly replied, "Okay, I'll tell them right away. No, warn them." "But Qing, why do you want to hide it? This is great news." Lu Qing thought about it and felt it was inconvenient to talk about it over the phone. So he said, "Come to Gushin Martial Arts School. I'll tell you face to face and bring Qin Rui along." Okay. Jiang Fei hung up and hurriedly sent a message to Du Liu and Song Li. Then he inexplicably wondered if he would be killed if he went to Gushin Martial Arts School. Lu Qing hung up and looked back at Qin Rui. Qin Rui gave him a thumbs up and said with a bashful smile, "Brother Lu, I sincerely call you Brother Lu. Who knows how many boys in our grade will hate you to the core and envy you to the core. Including me." Lu Qing smiled helplessly. "Don't tell anyone about this." "Why not?" Qin Rui asked in surprise. He had the same thought as Jiang Fei that this was great news. "I'll tell you when Fatty Jiang arrives." Lu Qing pressed a button and called Yanjika. As soon as the call was connected, both of them spoke at the same time. Qing Song Li guessed that we're in a relationship. Cuckoo, Fatty Jiang has guessed our intentions. Both of them were stunned. Yanjika blinked and said, "What's the situation? Tell me from the beginning." So Song Li didn't guess it by herself? And she even pretended to be a detective in front of me? Here's the thing. Lu Qing told her about Jiang Fei's reasoning process and how he casually answered Qin Rui's question. He was a little annoyed. He was too careless and didn't have any vigilance. How could he hide it from his father-in-law in the future? Feeling her boyfriend's annoyance, Yanjika's instinctive emotions disappeared. She laughed and scolded, "Idiot Qing. Our family's IQ still depends on me in the future." I'll remind Song Li and Du Liu again. I don't think they'll tell anyone. As for Qin Rui and Jiang Fei, why don't we treat them to a meal to thank them for not telling anyone? Hearing his girlfriend's suggestion, Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. "Ku, I know you're much better and more mature than me when it comes to interpersonal relationships. But there's no need to be so formal between guys. I'll give Fatty Jiang and Qin Rui some pointers later." "All right, I'll trust you." Yanjika pursed her lips and smiled, showing her dimples. "Don't worry too much. Actually, I'm prepared to tell Song Li, Sister Jingjing, Gu Shuang and the others about our relationship in the next few days. They'll be our shields when we meet. For example, she could use the excuse of going shopping with Song Li to go to Cheng's place one day. For this kind of thing, she definitely had to explain to the other party and verify their statements. Phew, so only Jiang Fei and Qin Rui shouldn't know? I'll kill them later. Lu Qing joked. Then he couldn't hide his longing and asked, "Ku, when are you coming back?" Yanjika touched the necklace in front of her chest and bit her lip. "I was going to come back tonight. But the weather is very gloomy and the wind is very strong. It looks like it's going to rain. I'm worried that something might happen to my parents if they drive over, so I asked them to wait a little longer. Maybe tomorrow night or the night after." Because Qin Rui was right beside him, Lu Qing didn't say anything sweet. He comforted the girl and hung up the phone. When Qin Rui finished another round of still stance, Jiang Fei arrived at the Gushin Martial Arts School. "Hey Qing, where are you guys? Should I come in directly?" he asked over the phone. Lu Qing pondered for a while and replied, "You wait outside. We'll find a quiet place." A few minutes later, the three of them met at the side of the martial arts school. There was an area marked off as a parking spot for bicycles and electric scooters. Lu Qing observed the surroundings and found that there was only an old lady watching the scooters in the distance. He felt relieved and said humorously, "I've gathered all of you here so that I can silence you." Jiang Fei and Qin Rui burst into laughter and were no longer as cautious as before. "Qing, so many people are jealous of your relationship with Yanjika. What's there to hide?" Jiang Fei asked straightforwardly. Lu Qing shook his head and smiled bitterly. "'Cause family doesn't want her to date in college." "Oh." Jiang Fei suddenly understood. "Just tell us directly. We'll definitely keep it a secret." "That's right. If you don't tell us and we keep guessing, it'll be easier to leak it." Qin Rui echoed. "I don't trust your big mouth." Lu Qing stared at Fatty Jiang and laughed. "No. I have to leave a deep impression on you so that you'll instinctively stop when you're about to say it." "What kind of deep impression?" Jiang Fei was very curious. Lu Qing looked around and walked to the parking spot a few steps away. It was blocked by cement blocks and a few thin iron chains. "Think about your neck." Lu Qing smiled and threatened them. Suddenly, he lowered his center of gravity and reached out his right hand to grab the thin iron chain. His knuckles and every inch of muscles and fascia in his hand suddenly exerted strength. With a snap, the iron chain was broken by him. Jiang Fei and Qin Rui were both stunned. They subconsciously took a step back and touched their own necks. This is King Iron. Lu Qing stopped his posture and smiled. Remember it, right? This is the power that can only be achieved when you start to practice your martial arts in detail. As soon as he finished speaking, a harsh shout came from behind him. Hey, stop. The old lady scurried over and glared at Lu Qing. Which unit are you from? Which company are you in? Are you from the Gushin Martial Arts School? How can you destroy public property? She blabbered a bunch of words as if she had turned on a machine gun. Lu Qing was at a loss at first, then his face became dull. Annie, please stop. I'll pay for it, okay? This is really a deep impression. Chapter 233. Ha 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 ha. Yanjika laughed so hard that she rolled on the bed. She hated that she didn't see it with her own eyes. That's for damaging public property. That's for damaging public property. After a long time she finally calmed down. She wiped the tears from her eyes and looked up at the gloomy sky outside the window. She hadn't seen Qing for almost 4 days. When two people could see each other every day and spend time together in their free time, there were many feelings that were not clear. When they were suddenly separated, so close that they could not touch each other, every little detail in their lives would suddenly jump out and fill the surroundings. Last night, Grandma specially made crabs. She subconsciously picked one up and carefully dissected it. She could even suck out the meat in the leg. When she finished all this and wanted to give them to her grandfather, she found that the person in her heart was not there. She had no choice but to give them to her grandfather. She felt lost. She accompanied the old couple for a walk. During the break, she took out a tissue and stood beside the bench in a daze. Because in the past, some idiot would take the tissue and carefully wipe it, when she encountered something interesting and wanted to share it with him, when she felt wronged and wanted to act coquettishly, when she missed the good food nearby and was worried about the old couple, when the wind blew past and her palms were empty, when she chatted happily on QQ but couldn't feel his warmth. Yanjika turned over and sat up. She listened to the whistling outside the window and felt the pressure before the storm. She pursed her lips and sent a message to Lu Qing without using an emoji. I want to come back early. I miss you a little. I want to come back early. When he saw this message, Lu Qing had just finished an hour of still stance instruction for Qin Rui and was sitting in Jiang Fei's car. His heart suddenly palpitated. Yanjika's bright eyes appeared in front of him, her soft voice echoed in his ears, and his nose faintly smelled the familiar sweet fragrance. What's wrong? Jiang Fei found that he was absent-minded. Lu Qing glanced at him and sighed. You'll understand when you have a girlfriend. Can you not stab me in the heart? A man can be killed but not humiliated. Even a single man has dignity. Jiang Fei didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Not only did you get my goddess, but you also ridiculed me for not having a girlfriend. The two of them teased each other all the way back to Lu Qing's neighborhood. Do you want to go up? I'll treat you to a cup of 1983 water. Lu Qing joked casually. Is that Mengpo's soup? Jiang Fei scolded jokingly. Then he replied seriously, I'm not going up. With this terrible weather it's going to rain soon. You're right. Be careful. Lu Qing waved his hand, carried the bag and walked into the neighborhood. The wind was so strong that the trees swayed and the leaves fell from time to time. The gloomy clouds hung low and weighed heavily on everyone's hearts. Even Lu Qing, who was rarely sentimental, couldn't help but feel a sense of melancholy, as if he was the only one left in the world. He missed his mother very much. He went up the stairs and opened the door. The room was quiet and no one had returned. He took out his cell phone and sent a message to Yanjika. Laughing and crying emoji. I feel like a left-behind child. So I'm a parent working outside? Yanjika replied with a snickering emoji. After chatting for a while, she went to help her grandma get some things. Lu Qing, on the other hand, scrolled up their chat history out of habit, recalling every word they had said. I want to come back early? Lu Qing was stunned when he saw this message again. He felt that something was expanding in his heart. He suddenly stood up from the sofa and rushed into his room. He took out his high school bag and the thermos that Yanjika gave him. He didn't stop walking. He jumped into the kitchen and washed the cup. Then he went back to the living room and opened the refrigerator door. He took out one of the 2 extra bowls of medicinal soup and poured it into the thermos. He closed the thermos tightly and put it into his bag along with his martial arts suit and boxers. Dang dang dang. He put on his backpack, opened the door and went out. After passing through the entrance of the unit, he called for an online taxi and immediately called Jiang Fei. Hello Ching. What's up? Fatty Jiang answered with his Bluetooth headset. Lu Qing ran against the wind to the gate of the neighborhood and said in a low voice, Fatty Jiang, if my mom calls you, tell her that I'm sleeping at your place tonight. Ah, okay. Where are you going? Jiang Fei asked curiously. Lu Qing took a breath and said, to the train station. Not the train station. Why are you going to the train station? Is there an emergency? Jiang Fei felt that he couldn't keep up with Lu Qing's pace. Lu Qing spat out the foul breath he had just taken. To Jianghu County. Kochien. If she can't come back early then I'll go there. Why should I wait like a fool? Jianghu County? What are you going to do there? Jiang Fei was confused. He didn't get an answer because Lu Qing had hung up the phone. Jianghu County. Jianghu County. His thoughts raced and he suddenly remembered something. Yenjika's hometown is Jianghu County. Damn. I've known Qing for so many years, but I didn't know until today that Qing is a man of action. Jiang Fei suddenly felt that Lu Qing's ability to win Yenjika's heart was not without reason. It was quite dangerous to take a car in the storm. Although there was no train from Xiushan to Jianghu County, there were still express and express trains. Lu Qing rationally chose the latter and booked a ticket for 6 p.m. in the online taxi hailing service. The whole journey would only take 35 minutes. Only then did he call his mother, Qi Fang, and tell her that he was going to play at Fatty Jiang's house and wouldn't be coming back tonight. Look at you, kid. You've been home for a few days but you've been running outside every day. You haven't even gone to your grandfather's house. Qi Fang nagged a little but didn't say much. Her child had grown up and was independent now. 10 minutes later, Lu Qing arrived at the train station. The sky was already filled with muffled thunders, each louder than the last. Lightning illuminated the gloomy environment. Don't be like this. The storm is coming. Won't the train be late? Lu Qing was deeply worried. His original plan was to arrive at Jianghu County before the storm, find a hotel to stay in, and then make arrangements according to the specific situation on Yenjika's side. Who knew that the storm would come faster than he expected? According to Murphy's Law, when something is likely to develop in a bad direction, it is highly likely to develop in that direction. After Lu Qing passed the security check, he was not surprised to hear that the train would be late. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The storm was pouring down. This night was much later than usual. Many people directly canceled their plans to go out. Lu Qing waited patiently. He didn't reveal anything in his chat with Yenjika. If he really couldn't make the trip, wouldn't that make the girl look forward to nothing? He ate dinner at the train station and browsed the news from time to time, praying that the storm wouldn't lead to a flood. Outside the house, the rain fell like a waterfall, knocking on the window, making the room quiet. While chatting with Lu Qing, Yenjika looked at her classmates and sighed that the rain was really heavy this time. Which part of the house was wet? Phew, luckily I didn't ask Empress Dowager and others to come and pick me up. She sighed softly. At 11 o'clock at night, Lu Qing was still waiting. The train seemed to be far away, but Yenjika had fallen into a deep sleep. He closed his eyes, concealed his spirit and qi and sat down to sleep, warming his spirit. Time passed by. At 2 o'clock in the morning, seeing that most of the passengers were asleep, a thief stood up and skillfully rummaged through his bag. He came to Lu Qing's side, took a pair of tweezers and put them into his pocket. Right at this moment, his wrist suddenly tightened. Someone had grabbed it. He subconsciously wanted to withdraw his hand, but felt that the other's hand was like an iron clamp, firmly clamped and wouldn't loosen. Then he saw a pair of deep and calm eyes. After handing the thief to the police in the station, Lu Qing shook his head with a puzzled expression. Almost as soon as the thief's pair of tweezers reached out, he woke up from his dream and instinctively stretched out his palm. Does this have the taste of absolute reaction? But I've just taken the medicine soup for 2 or 3 days, and my kung fu has just reached the subtleties. How can it be so fast? Is it the combination of the spirit of great success in meditation and the subtleties of kung fu? Lu Qing didn't think too much about it. He planned to test it out when he had time. He continued to sleep to keep himself in good condition. At 4 o'clock in the morning, the long-delayed train finally arrived. More than 30 minutes later, Lu Qing arrived at the Jianghu County Railway Station. It was dark outside and the rainstorm had stopped. The air was thick with moisture. As soon as he stepped out of the station, he saw a line of small black cars surrounded by many drivers. They shouted, "Are you going or not? It's only 200 to the city. Call a few more people, and I'll only charge you 100 to the city. You might as well rob me." Lu Qing didn't care about them. He unlocked his phone, turned on the GPS, and entered the 4 words Jianghu County. After chatting for a few days, he already knew that Yanjika's grandparents were middle school teachers who lived in the family area in the county. After confirming the route, Lu Qing carried his satchel and started running. Yo, is there something wrong with this guy's brain? Is he stupid? He wants to run to the city? The black car drivers were a little stunned. Lu Qing looked at the GPS, corrected the direction, and quickened his pace. It's only a dozen kilometers. What's wrong with that? After a few minutes, she came to her senses. She put on the martial arts suit she had prepared and sent a message to Lu Qing. "I'm up, rain or shine." Within 10 seconds she received Lu Qing's reply. "I woke up early." The corners of her mouth lifted and her dimples flashed. Lu Qing's face seemed to appear in her mind. She put down her phone and tidied herself up. After a busy day, she waited for her grandfather, who also needed to get up early to practice Tai Chi. She walked out of the gate and jogged to the family area. At this time the sky was still dark and the street lights were on everywhere. Yanjika ran out of the community and suddenly saw a familiar figure, a figure who should have been in Xioshan. The dim yellow light soaked into his tall and strong body. It dyed his eyebrows, his outline, and the familiar smile at the corner of his mouth with a layer of light. "Qing." Yanjika almost whispered to herself. Then she reached out and covered her mouth, afraid that she would disturb her grandfather in front of her. Then she rubbed her eyes until they were red and wet. She couldn't believe that she saw Lu Qing. Why did he suddenly appear here? It was raining so heavily last night. At this time, her grandfather turned around and wondered why his granddaughter stopped at the gate of the community. Yanjika turned her head and looked to the side. Hiding her expression, she started running again. When her grandfather wasn't paying attention, she took out her phone and sent a message to Lu Qing. "Why are you here?" With a warm smile, Lu Qing replied to the girl on his phone. "Because I miss you too." Chapter 234. Because I miss you too. Yanjika stopped running again. Her eyelashes trembled and her vision blurred. Too many emotions were bursting and blooming in her heart. She couldn't wait to turn around, run under the streetlight, and throw herself into the arms of the person she missed so much. Glancing at her grandpa in front of her, she bit her lip with her white and neat teeth to suppress the throbbing. She typed on the keyboard and sent a message to Lu Qing. "Idiot, you almost made me cry." Phew. She exhaled and calmed down a little. Then she said, "That's right. I'm inviting you to do morning exercises with me. You can't reject me." A smile blossomed on Lu Qing's face as he replied briefly, "Okay." He put his phone in his pocket, carried his sling bag and started jogging. He followed his girlfriend from a distance and turned to the right. He followed her through the shady road and followed her to a place with good greenery. "Grandpa, I'm going to continue practicing martial arts over there." Yanjika greeted her grandpa cheerfully. She was unusually happy and looking forward to it. Her grandfather knew that there were many martial arts styles that could not be seen by outsiders when practicing. A few days ago, his granddaughter had also gone to a secluded place nearby. Without suspecting anything, she waved her hand and joined the group of old men practicing Tai Chi she stretched out with her acquaintances. Lu Qing saw this and immediately quickened his pace. He followed the slender figure into a small path and turned into a place that looked like a botanical garden. Jianghu County was just a wall away. After running into another fork, Yanjika slowed down and stopped under a fresh tree. She pursed her lips and looked deeply at her boyfriend who was getting closer and closer. Lu Qing was about to hug her when he found that she was looking to the side with her hands behind her back. She pouted and said, "Stand there and don't move. Close your eyes. Just close them." Lu Qing couldn't resist Yanjika's coquetry. He smiled and said, Okay. He stood there and closed his eyes, listening to the familiar soft footsteps walking towards him. Am I being teased this time? Yanjika stopped for a moment after she got close. Her eyes were like water as she looked at Lu Qing's face. He looks a little tired. He probably didn't sleep well last night. His beard was sticking out. He must have not had the time to shave. His hair was a little messy. He must not have had a chance to shower last night. The girl's heart grew softer and softer. She took half a step forward, wrapped her arms around his waist, and buried her face in his shoulder. She felt the familiar smell, the familiar body temperature, and the familiar heartbeat. She felt the longing and frustration of the past few days melt away little by little. "Don't open your eyes." She sensed Lu Cheng's attempt to open his eyes to return her hug, so she scolded him in a tender voice. "All right." Lu Cheng smiled and closed his eyes, showing that he was looking forward to it. Yenjika's eyes rippled. She raised her hands and put them around Lu Cheng's neck. Tiptoeing, she kissed the corner of Lu Cheng's mouth and the stubble on his head. The corners of his eyes, his face, his forehead. In this aspect she was a good student of Lu Cheng. She kissed him gently one after another. Finally she closed her eyes. With a face full of righteousness, shyness and joy, she kissed Lu Cheng's lips. She clumsily traced the outline of his lips and timidly stuck out her tongue. Lu Cheng hugged her tightly and kissed her back passionately. He wished he could be their flesh and blood. After a long time, Yenjika panted and broke away from her boyfriend's embrace. She looked to the side with a drunken look. Her cheeks were red and she pretended to be indifferent. "This is my morning kiss for you. Little boy, you need to train well." "Yes, Sister Yen," Lu Cheng answered comfortably. He hung his satchel on the tree branch and got into position. Yenjika tilted her head and asked in confusion, "Don't you drink the medicine soup?" "I drank it long ago. I've already finished one round of training. Don't you see that I'm wearing a martial arts suit?" Lu Cheng smiled and pointed at his body. "I have to admit that the nearby public toilets are pretty clean. That's right, I'm also stupid. Humph, I must be infected by Cheng." Yenjika glanced at Lu Cheng. She didn't want to admit that she was too excited to pay attention to details. They didn't waste time on each other, nor did they neglect their training. They each took a side and practiced their own content. From time to time the sound of punches and kicks could be heard. During this process, they would occasionally meet eyes and communicate with each other. It was extremely sweet and beautiful. Time flew and it was 7:30 in the blink of an eye. According to her usual habits, Yenjika should have left at this time to meet up with her grandpa and go home for breakfast. However, she dilly-dallied and didn't want to say goodbye. "Cheng, how's the effect of your tempering these past few days?" She looked up and asked with a faint smile. Lu Cheng stopped his posture and hugged the girl into his arms. "You're so dirty. You smell like sweat." Dirty Cheng who didn't take a shower. Yenjika punched his chest lightly but didn't struggle. She chose to snuggle up to him quietly. Lu Cheng chuckled and then replied, "The effect is pretty good. After only 2 or 3 days I feel like I'm slowly getting into the details. I was thinking, the seniors who started practicing martial arts at the beginning definitely didn't have the help of the medicinal decoction. How did they do it? The seniors who started practicing martial arts at the beginning must be the kind with overflowing talent. They didn't need the help of medicine soup to get into the details. With their experience, we juniors can get twice the result with half the effort. There's no need to take the wrong path," Yenjika said with a smile. At this moment she actually felt that Lu Cheng's sweat didn't smell bad. Instead she liked it inexplicably. "Oh no, I must be sick. My nose is broken." Her face unconsciously flushed. She quickly asked, "What about the comprehension of withdraw? I haven't gained anything yet. I feel like I can't find the direction." Lu Cheng sighed slightly. "The more I practice, the faster and smoother my muscles and fascia become. It's like there were a lot of impurities that were hindering my strength. Now they are being eliminated little by little. But this has nothing to do with the meaning of withdraw." His fake master only gave him the words human body big Dan round and bright. He couldn't understand anything from it. Yenjika pursed her lips and smiled. "Call me Coach Yen. I'll explain it to you. For this matter, I have specifically consulted several relatives. Coach Yen, please do me a favor and give me some guidance. I can't repay your kindness, so I can only devote myself to you." Lu Cheng joked in a relaxed manner. "Then I'll have to think about it." Yenjika rolled her eyes at him and thought for a while. "I've asked my brother and other uncles, aunts and sisters. After combining their words I found a common point. Well, that's will." "Will?" Lu Cheng chewed on these 2 words. "Withdraw is not only the withdrawal of force but also the withdrawal of chi and blood, the withdrawal of momentum and spirit. Maybe you have to find your own path and martial arts will to be able to control all of these." Yenjika guessed seriously. "Their words are very different but they are in line with the records I read in the ancient books. Dan's stage varies from person to person. You can't imitate others. Well, it's probably because everyone is unique and their wills are also different. Lu Qing listened thoughtfully. He thought of something his master said, that he had to walk the path of martial arts mixed with cultivation. That was why his master couldn't give him too detailed guidance. But I don't know anything about cultivation. My path of martial arts, what will my martial arts will be like? It seems that I have to start from the Jindan? Back then, did your cousin find his martial arts will because he was injured? Lu Qing asked casually. There were not many people in the world who could communicate effectively with his brother-in-law, and his girlfriend was one of them. Yes. My cousin said that he relied on martial arts and hard work, so he couldn't really see his own will. When he was injured and couldn't practice martial arts for a long time, he felt empty all of a sudden. Then he slowly found and recognized his own martial arts will. But Qing, you can't learn from him. Everyone is different. Before Yin Zhika finished her words, she heard her phone ring. She took it out and looked at it. She shrank her neck, pursed her lips and chose to answer the call. Grandpa. I'm more focused on practicing today. Okay, I'll be back soon. She hung up the phone and looked at Lu Qing. She said reluctantly, I have to go back for breakfast. What are you going to do next? I've seen you and hugged you, so I have to go home. You won't have a chance to come out even if you stay here. And you should be back in Xioshan by tomorrow at the latest, right? Lu Qing smiled and breathed in Yenjika's scent. His original plan was to ask her to go to her uncle, aunt and other relatives' houses and have a short date with him on the way. But since they had already done morning exercises together, there was no need to trouble her anymore. Yenjika stared at Lu Qing quietly with her dark eyes. After a few seconds she bit her lip and said, Then wait for me on the other side of the road in the neighborhood. Why? You want to treat me to your grandpa's breakfast? Lu Qing guessed. Yenjika pursed her lips and smiled. Yes. Wait for me. She left Lu Qing's arms, turned around and jogged out to meet her grandpa. Then they went home. While helping to set the table, she took a deep breath and plucked up her courage. She showed her dimples and smiled sweetly. Grandma, I'll go back by car later. Songli is looking for me. I want to go back to Xioshan with Cheng. Why are you leaving so suddenly? Is it urgent? Aren't your parents coming to pick you up tonight or tomorrow? Yenjika's grandma asked in surprise. Yes, I won't wait for them. I'm old enough to go to and from Songqing by myself. What's there to be afraid of? Grandpa, you can come to Xioshan and stay for a few days. Yenjika showed her talent in acting spoiled and coaxed the two old people into agreeing to her request. Hurrah! She cheered quietly and rushed into the room. She quickly took a shower, changed her clothes and packed her luggage. She left the clothes that had not been dried and would come back later. She moved quickly and filled her suitcase. Then she hurried out of the door. You little girl, you should at least have breakfast before you leave. Her grandma stopped her. Yenjika's eyes flashed a few times and she nodded weakly. Okay. She ate a few mouthfuls without tasting, forced a steamed bun into her mouth and drank a glass of milk. Eat well. Grandma, I'm leaving. She clapped her hands like a primary school student. Then she put on her shoes, dragged her luggage and ran out of the door to the entrance of the neighborhood. I'll call Empress Dowager later. In the clanging sound of the pulley, her long hair fluttered in the wind. She couldn't wait to leave. Lu Qing waited patiently under the shade of the opposite tree, looking at the entrance of the neighborhood. Suddenly he saw Yenjika come out with her long hair fluttering in the wind, dragging that familiar suitcase. She looked like a little fairy who came to the human world from heaven. He was a little stunned. What's going on? Yenjika looked around and crossed the road to him. Looking at his stupefied face, she pursed her lips and smiled. Idiot, why are you in a daze? Help me carry my suitcase and call a taxi. You're going back with me? Lu Qing woke up and was surprised. He quickly took the suitcase. Yenjika turned her head and looked to the side. She didn't answer directly. She waved her hand and hummed. Let's go. I'll treat you to breakfast. On the minibus from Jianghu to Xioshan, the two leaned against each other and didn't talk for a while. They just smiled and looked at each other's interlocked fingers and the rings that were shining again. At this time the minibus started to play music. Flowers bloom in spring, taking away the sadness of winter. Listen to me. Hand in hand, go with me and create a happy life. Yesterday was too late. Tomorrow will be a pity. Will you marry me today? Chapter 235. Yanjika and Lu Qing went back to Xiaoshan. Yanjika and Lu Qing, who had reported to Empress Dowager and Song Li, threw their suitcases and bags into the storage area of a shopping mall. Then they had a good time. They watched a movie, went to the bookstore, went shopping, played with dolls, and ate delicious food. In the end, Yanjika, who was in high spirits, even went to the musical merry-go-round for children twice. Lu Qing laughed and seized the opportunity to take many pictures of her at that time. Because there was no private occasion, the two of them didn't have much to be intimate with each other. They just finished the whole movie in the cinema. But even so, Lu Qing didn't feel any regret. He was equally happy, equally satisfied, and equally full of joy and happiness. Of course, at his age, he would feel that it would be better if there was a chance to be intimate. When they were talking about going to Old Lu Barbecue for dinner, Yanjika received a call from Empress Dowager. After a while, Yanjika put away her phone and wrinkled her nose. Empress Dowager asked me to go home for dinner. She seems to know that I'm with you, but she didn't say anything. In fact, with Empress Dowager's intelligence and experience, she could guess who I was rushing back to Xiaoshan for. Empress Dowager is experienced. She must know that wherever there is oppression, there will be resistance. He could roughly guess what Empress Dowager was thinking. She wouldn't forbid him from dating Ku, but she didn't want them to be together all the time. In that case, the weather would be dry and the clothes would be thin. Young men and women would be full of vigor, and if they weren't careful, it would trigger lightning and fire. Of course, this was based on the fact that Empress Dowager didn't know me. In fact, she didn't need to worry. I would respect Yanjika and our future and control myself. Well, I have to go back to please Empress Dowager and massage her shoulders and back. Yanjika could feel her mother's indulgence and sighed half-jokingly. Then she blinked and looked at Lu Qing with her bright eyes. Will you send me zongzi tomorrow? Of course. Lu Qing answered without hesitation. Yanjika laughed and rolled her eyes. It's a pity that I can't eat it tomorrow. Ah. Lu Qing was confused. Then why did you ask? Teasing Qing is so fun. Yanjika said with a smile. The Empress Dowager said that she would take me to a Yunshui restaurant after the morning exercise. They used to open a restaurant near the hospital where my father worked. It was full of my memories. Unfortunately, they moved away and no one knew where they went. It was only recently discovered by the Empress Dowager. Can I meet you by chance? Lu Qing chuckled. Sure, as long as you're not afraid to face the Empress Dowager. Yanjika replied with a smile. Thinking of the Empress Dowager's aura, Lu Qing wiped his non-existent cold sweat and said, Well, the son-in-law is always afraid of the mother-in-law. Yanjika chuckled. Well, in fact, I don't know the exact location of that shop. After we go there tomorrow, I will take you there. Okay. Lu Qing thought for a while and said, Then I'll send you some zongzi the day after tomorrow? You don't have to. Yanjika smiled and said, Empress Dowager will be on a business trip tomorrow night. She'll be busy with a big project and won't be back for a few days. We can do morning exercises together and eat zongzi together. Okay. Lu Qing was suddenly full of expectations. After taking back the luggage, he called an online taxi and sent Yanjika to the entrance of her community. It was a villa community located opposite the lake behind the commercial center. It was a quiet community in the midst of chaos. After saying goodbye reluctantly, Lu Qing remembered to call his mother. Mom, I'll come back for dinner later. He emphasized the key point. Qi Fang sneered. Why didn't you say so earlier? I'm almost done with the steaming. There's no share for you. Ah. Lu Qing was stunned and deeply understood what it meant to be a biological mother. Feeling Lu Qing's sluggishness, Qi Fang laughed and said, Fei wants to eat old yellow sliced chicken. You go buy one and get yourself a meal. Okay. Lu Qing elongated his tone to show his happiness. Sliced chicken was a special delicacy of Xiaoshan. When Lu Qing was a child, when there were not many resources, it was a luxury for ordinary people to eat a chicken. Therefore, sliced chicken was born. The stall owner would cook the chicken and soak it in the chili oil soup. He would sell the chicken on the street and charge money by the slice. Even greedy children could eat 2 or 3 slices with the money they saved. It was one of Lu Qing's good memories when he was a child. Nowadays, as long as one was not poor, it was easy to eat a chicken once in a while. Thus, sliced chicken gradually disappeared from the stage of history. Only the Old Yellow restaurant, because of its exquisite ingredients, attractive taste and appetizing spicy taste, became a regular stall business, selling cold dishes and braised dishes. After buying the delicacies for Yanjika, Lu Qing took them back home. Qi Fang, who had been waiting for him, announced that dinner was ready. What have you been doing these past few days? Fang asked when she was half full. Didn't I tell you already? I went to work part-time in the martial arts club of my classmate's master. Lu Qing poured some sliced chicken and mixed it with rice. Lu Jisheng put down his chopsticks and took a sip of Ningxue Daku original proof liquor. You started work so early? How many days a week? Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 to 12 in the morning. But most of the time, I also stayed in the martial arts club and borrowed their strength training room to practice. Or I could give guidance to the inner disciples. Lu Qing told his parents that he might not be at home often. Most of the time he would go on dates. Not bad. It's very easy. Qi Fang breathed a sigh of relief. She was afraid that her son would be too tired to make money. Then, half out of curiosity and half out of habit, she asked, "In that case, how much do they give you a month?" Questions about money always aroused people's desire to understand. Not only Lu Jisheng looked over, but also Qi Yunfei, who was chewing the chicken, turned her head and looked at her cousin with interest. Lu Qing hesitated and said frankly, "They give me more than 50,000 yuan for 2 months. This did not include the individual guidance fee." Although only Qin Rue could make an appointment, he believed that after he improved, other inner disciples and aspiring martial arts students could not help but give it a try. 50,000, 10,000? Qi Fang's chopsticks paused in the air. Lu Jisheng forgot to put the food into his mouth. Only Qi Yunfei, who had heard Ding Yanba mention it before, was mentally prepared. Yes. Lu Qing nodded. Qi Fang blurted out, "Qing, have you been tricked? You only work 3 mornings a week and they give you more than 50,000 yuan for 2 months? With her son's identity, how could there be such a good thing in the world? He was not the kind of martial artist who could make thunder and fire on TV. How is that possible? Gushin Martial Arts School has been running for many years." Qi Yunfei retorted. She had done the research. Lu Qing smiled and said, "Mom, don't worry. You can ask someone." Well, how much can a top professional 9th pin fighter earn a month? Although Gushin Martial Arts School takes care of me, it is not an exaggeration. Really? Qi Fang's face was still full of doubt. This was such a good thing that it was hard to believe. Lu Jisheng put down the wine glass and said calmly, "Don't make a fuss. I heard that professional martial artists earn a good income. Qing, have you signed the contract? You can't be careless these days." This was a lesson he had learned through blood and tears. When he went out to work, he was introduced by acquaintances at first. They were too embarrassed to mention the contract. As a result, he was owed a lot of wages. Some of them were still unpaid. "Yes, Dad. Don't worry. They won't dare to cheat me on this kind of thing." Lu Qing answered with a smile. Not to mention his master, Justin Xioshan, Director Xing could make Gushin Martial Arts School suffer. Moreover, he could follow the rules of Jianghu and challenge the school alone and smash the sign. "Is the contract with you? Let me see." Lu Jisheng was still a little worried. Lu Qing smiled and shook his head. He went back to the room, found the contract and handed it to his father. Is this the Lu family's version of once bitten twice shy? When this thought came to his mind, Lu Qing not only felt funny, but also felt sorry for his father. "In the future you won't have to work so hard anymore." Lu Jisheng looked carefully and handed it to Qi Fang, who had been leaning over. He sighed with relief and said, "Not bad, not bad. You've grown up and become an adult. Sai, your father's annual salary plus bonus and benefits only amounts to a little more than 80,000 yuan. And this is a good year. You can be my father for half a year and 2 months." He was full of feelings and rambled on. Qi Fang keenly interrupted, "What's a 1-to-1 tuition fee?" "It's a 1-to-1 tuition fee," Lu Qing said concisely. He was afraid that his mother wouldn't understand if he said it too professionally. When it came to tuition, Qi Fang understood. "Is it based on times or hours?" 800 yuan per hour, Lu Qing said honestly. "Oh, 800 yuan per hour. That's 6,400 yuan per day for 8 hours. That's more than 190,000 yuan per month. Qing, you're promising." Qi Fang beamed. Lu Qing looked at her blankly and said, "Mom, you're so good at math." After he finished explaining, first of all, it was impossible for so many people to ask for tuition, and second of all, there were other things such as normal martial arts classes. Qi Fang regretfully expressed that she understood. Then she talked about Lu Cheng's cousin Lu Yanwei, saying that he had been quiet for half a year and wanted to start a business again. After dinner, Lu Cheng's parents went out for a walk. Qi Yunfei jumped in front of Lu Cheng and said with starry eyes, "Brother Lu Cheng, you're so awesome." "Get to the point." Lu Cheng's eyes were like torches. Hey, my birthday is 3 months away. Since you're so rich, shouldn't you give me a meaningful gift? Qi Yunfei said flatteringly. Lu Qing smiled slightly. It depends on your performance. If you're addicted to love and don't have the heart to study, you know. Qi Yunfei nodded and sighed. I'm so envious that you can make so much money in college. I can only rely on my mom and dad. I have to be frugal. It's good that you know how to be envious. Study hard so that you can make money in the future and have the hope of financial independence. Lu Qing used the new words he learned. Qi Yunfei helplessly glanced at him. Brother Lu Qing, you're getting more and more old-fashioned. You take the opportunity to educate people. Lu Qing thought for a while and sighed with a smile. Maybe my mentality has changed. He was no longer an inexperienced teenager, but a man who wanted to take on some things, shoulder some responsibilities and protect a girl. Qi Yunfei looked at him seriously and smiled sweetly after a long time. Brother Lu Qing, you looked very handsome just now. If you weren't my brother, I might like you. Lu Qing clicked his tongue. If you weren't my sister, hey, I wouldn't even look at you. After that he looked up and laughed. He picked up his pajamas and other things and rushed to take a shower. Qi Yunfei was stunned on the spot. After dozens of seconds she gnashed her teeth and said, so angry. The next morning, Lu Qing drank the medicine and ran to the park. Today he wanted to test the prototype of absolute reaction that inexplicably appeared before. He tried to grasp the characteristics of cultivation through Jindan. He wanted to see how to integrate it into martial arts and open up his own path. Chapter 236. Phew. At the end of his morning exercise, Lu Qing exhaled a mouthful of foul air and shook his head with a wry smile. To him this was something he had expected. How could one be able to find the right direction and achieve success on the first try? In fact, ever since Lu Qing found out that the Jindan in his body came from the lost martial arts sect Cultivation, he had put in a lot of effort to gather information about it. However, the information he could find on the internet was too mysterious and hard to believe. For example, in a small Cultivation fan exchange forum, there was a guy named Thompson, who had developed hysteria due to his practice and almost became a cripple. He only recovered after a long time. Without a corresponding martial arts reference, Lu Qing's attempt to grasp the characteristics of cultivation through the Jindan was like a blind man groping for an elephant. It was difficult for him to gain anything of value. At most, he could deepen his understanding of the concepts of frost, Virokana, and starry sky. Naturally, there was no way for him to integrate the knowledge of cultivation and open up his own path. Sigh, it's been several months since Master's old friend obtained the Longhu Immortal's legacy. Why hasn't he achieved anything? Lu Qing complained in his heart. He packed up his things and prepared to go home for breakfast. If he still couldn't grasp the characteristics of cultivation, then he decided to use the simplest, crudest, and most effective method. That was to completely follow the orthodox martial arts path and treat the Jindan as a supernatural energy fountain. Through time and time again, he would completely absorb it and strengthen his own supernatural abilities of frost and flame. As for the combination of supernatural abilities and martial arts, there were too many references. The predecessor planted the tree, and the successor reaped the shade. It was half the work but twice the effect. If there's no other way, then so be it. Jindan, who knows what it is? Lu Qing's thoughts fluctuated and he sighed slightly. At this moment, he suddenly had an absurd association based purely on the literal meaning of the word. Jindan Danchi state, they are all Dan. Could it be that there are some similarities? As soon as this whimsical idea came into his mind, it was like a flood breaking through a dam. It was endless and couldn't be stopped no matter how hard he tried. The specific meaning of the Danchi state is that the strength of the whole body is transparent and smooth, intertwining with the spirit, qi, and blood. It's like a Dan. Every punch and kick can mobilize the strength of the whole body to the greatest extent and can be controlled with extreme precision. There's absolute reaction, so it's called the human body Big Dan. The most powerful of all is force concentration, which condenses the strength, qi, blood, and spirit into a point and unleash. Master's description, it's round and bright. Jindan, I still don't know what it is, but from my senses and observations over the past few months, I've discovered that it perfectly matches the description of round and bright. It balances itself and forms a universe of its own. It's like a supernatural ability, A material product formed by the condensation of physical invulnerability, aura shield, intent, and spirit. It has the duality of matter and spirit. Can I imitate the Jindan or use it as a fulcrum to complete my force concentration? With the experience of force concentration, I can find and condense my own martial arts will and rely on it to repeat the process. Can I become a Real Dan state? Lu Qing thought aimlessly. Gradually, he had a general direction and was filled with the passion to try again. This time, his train of thought didn't involve the characteristics of cultivation. It was purely imitating the operating rules of Jindan. Well, I'll try again tomorrow morning. Failure is the mother of success. With his longing resolved and his feelings nourished, Lu Qing also had a direction to improve his martial arts. When he stood in front of Zhang Qiufan, Yao Ruiwei and the other students again, he was really glowing. He was in a good mood from inside out. Wu Ting smiled and asked, "Coach Lu, did something good happen to you yesterday?" "Yeah." Lu Qing answered with a smile. "Then will you go easy on me today? I'm so tired after the last training. My whole body is sore." Wu Ting seized the opportunity. "Yeah, my legs were shaking when I walked yesterday." Yao Ruiwei, the little fatty, quickly agreed. Lu Qing maintained his smile and answered, "That's why you don't train often. You'll get used to it after more training. Don't worry, I'll be worth every penny you pay." "Ah." Wu Ting, Zhang Qiufan, and the others all let out disappointed sounds. Then, under Lu Qing's guidance, they began to calm down. When it came to the formal training, Lu Qing realized how difficult it was to teach the half-grown kids. After a little more than a day, 8 out of 10 of the basic stances they had learned were not up to standard. They had to be explained and corrected again. The only two who were still okay were Li Lei and Wu Ting, who could barely remember the content of the previous lesson. Fortunately, Lu Qing knew that they only wanted to strengthen their bodies. As long as they could maintain the amount of training, they would pass. He didn't have high expectations, so his mood wasn't affected. After correcting them one by one, he stood at the side with his hands behind his back. He concentrated on tightening and compressing his muscles, creating a moderate amount of vibration. Together with the erosion of the medicine, he polished his muscles and fascia. Suddenly, he heard hurried footsteps and a commotion at the door. Turning his head, he saw Qin Rui's excited and uneasy face. "What's wrong?" Lu Qing asked, puzzled. Qin Rui lowered his voice and said, "The selection for the preliminaries is about to be finalized. Today, Chairman Wei will bring the person who has already been selected to visit the martial arts school. Whether or not I'll be selected to participate in the special training will depend on later. The selection of the team must be approved by the chief." Who's the person?" "You'll be fine if you perform well?" Lu Qing asked curiously. Qin Rui answered in distress, "A professional 9th pin fighter named Li Tianming. He's a disciple of a family sect in our city. He's very talented and got a 9th pin certificate at the age of 20. He went to Gaofun to develop. Their sect has a good relationship with Mingwei. In our martial arts school, other than Senior Dai, it's hard to say who will be selected. Isn't there still Chairman Wei? You won't make it too obvious." Lu Qing comforted him. "If you make a breakthrough in your still stance this month and perform well in the youth tournament, Chairman Wei won't see it." "Yes. At the end of the day, strength is the most important." Qin Rui nodded vigorously. At this moment, the noise approached. Wei Renjie, with his hair slicked back, walked over with Chu Weikai, Dai Linfeng and the others. Beside him was a young martial artist in his 20s. His face was thin, his eyes were small and sharp, and his qi and blood were so vigorous that they almost materialized. He looked a little complacent. Wei Renjie glanced at the VIP class in front of him and smiled. "Tingting, are you practicing martial arts here?" Wu Ting stopped what she was doing and smiled obediently. "Uncle Wei, my dad likes to be busy. He's worried that I'll learn bad things during the holidays, so he sent me here." Lu Qing was stunned. He didn't expect Wu Ting's family to have a good relationship with Wei Renjie. But then again, according to Qin Rui, the VIP class wasn't a place that could be registered with money. "It's good to practice martial arts. It strengthens your body. How is it? How do you feel?" Wei Renjie asked kindly. Wu Ting nodded quickly. "Pretty good. Our coach is awesome." "Your coach?" Wei Renjie turned his head and looked at Lu Qing. After a moment of shock, he recalled the past and smiled. "You're Lu Qing, right?" "Yes." "Chairman, you still remember me?" Lu Qing replied with a smile. At this moment, Li Tianming's eyes also looked over. His pupils suddenly shrank. He didn't expect to see a young martial artist with vigorous qi and blood in the Gushin martial arts school. Ordinary people like Wei Renjia wouldn't think much of it. At most they would think that Lu Qing looked very energetic and tough. But in the eyes of martial artists with similar experiences, it was obvious what it meant. At this stage of the body refining state, the strength of martial artists was like a firefly in the night. It was so bright and so flamboyant that it couldn't be hidden. What does this mean? Li Tianming looked at Chu Weikai in surprise. He saw that this old man with deep wrinkles was also looking at him. His smile was amiable and his eyes were meaningful. How can I not remember? My idea for special training came from your opinion. Wei Renjia laughed. Is it summer vacation? Why are you here as a coach? Part-time job. Lu Qing answered honestly. Good. It's good to be self-sufficient. Wei Renjia didn't say much. He walked around the VIP class area and walked towards the stairs surrounded by people. When the area was almost out of sight, Li Tianming couldn't help but look back at Lu Qing. How could he not be cautious when he found a martial artist at the peak of the body refining state in a martial arts school that he didn't have a good relationship with? But Lu Qing didn't care at all. He didn't even think about competing for the preliminaries. It's a pity that Chairman Wei isn't a martial artist. He can't see how strong you are. Qin Rui sighed regretfully. He strode forward and caught up with the group. After the tour, the few people with the highest status sat down in the office on the third floor. Li Tianming glanced at the summer martial arts class registration list on the table. He pretended to pick it up casually and flipped through it. VIP Class 3 Coach Lu Qing, Professional 9th Pin, Lu Qing? Chairman Wei called him Lu Qing just now. Li Tianming put down the list and took out his phone while listening to Wei Renjia's long speech. A professional 9th Pin martial artist could more or less find the competition videos online. Chu Weikai glanced at his actions and smiled faintly. Lu Qing, Professional 9th Pin. After typing these words, Li Tianming put his phone on silent mode and browsed through the information. He randomly clicked on a video. At the beginning his expression was still normal. But as he watched, his expression changed and his body couldn't help but tremble. Wei Renjia ended his speech and looked at Li Tianming with a smile. Tianming, what do you think after watching the young talents of Xiushan? Do you have the confidence to take on the challenge of the preliminaries? He was inviting Li Tianming. Li Tianming suddenly woke up and looked at Chu Weikai subconsciously. He saw the smile on Chu Weicai's face. Li Tianming took a deep breath and answered stiffly, Chairman, I don't have the confidence. Huh? Wei Renjia was stunned. What kind of answer is this? I was just asking out of habit. Li Tianming forced a smile and said, I've thought about it seriously. I'm still too weak to win glory for Xiushan. Chairman, I'm sorry to let you down. If I agreed to be the leader, Gushan Martial Arts School would definitely find an excuse to challenge me, and I really don't have the confidence to face that guy just now. Wei Renjia was still calm. He maintained his composure and asked seriously, Are you sure? Yes. Li Tianming answered with a red face. After the exchange, he left Gushan Martial Arts School as if he had escaped from a tiger's den. Looking at Li Tianming's panicked back, Lu Qing pulled Qin Rui and asked thoughtfully, Chairman Wei, why did you decide to visit today? My master invited me. Qin Rui didn't think there was anything wrong with it. Lu Qing laughed and shook his head. He didn't say anything else. Master, this trick is really useful. After watching Wei Renjia leave, Dai Linfeng saw that there was no one around and said excitedly, In the future, if we meet any ignorant professional 9th Pin who wants to be the leader, we can invite them to visit. Lu Qing doesn't want to do that, but others don't know. Chu Weikai sighed and said, This method can only be used once. Do you think Lu Qing is stupid? Can't he see through it? We can use his prestige a little and think about our relationship with him. He will turn a blind eye and let it go with a smile. If we do it again and again, what does he think he is? Dai Linfeng nodded and said sincerely, Master, I understand. Yes, we have to seize the opportunity and try to get the professional 9th Pin who is close to us. Sai, only an experienced person like Master can accurately grasp the limits of the previous method. Chapter 237. Lu Qing, who had nothing to do in the afternoon, went home early. He was chatting with Yan Zhika on his phone while watching variety shows on the sofa. When night fell, he found that his mother was not home. The dinner they had planned was still in his imagination. Hello Mom, where have you been? Lu Qing, the left-behind child, took the initiative to call. Fong was surprised. Didn't I tell you? No. Lu Qing answered blankly. Fong laughed dryly. Oh, I'm used to you studying outside. Used to what? Used to not having a son like me? Lu Qing covered his face and sighed. Fong continued, Feifei has been playing in our house for a few days. Your aunt urged her to go back. I thought it would be a waste if I didn't use it since I helped someone take over for a few days. So, I decided to send her back. I don't want to embarrass your aunt if anything happens on the way back. Qing, you and your dad can settle it by yourselves tonight. I can sleep in my room tonight? Lu Qing was delighted. He asked, Mom, when are you coming back? The day after tomorrow. I'll go to your grandpa's house tomorrow and get some homegrown vegetables. Fong started nagging Lu Qing to come over and spend time with his grandparents on weekends when he was not at the martial arts school. After listening to his mother's nagging, Lu Qing immediately sent a message to Yanzhika, saying that he was abandoned by his mother and had no dinner. Yanzhika replied with a few pictures of the food she was enjoying without sympathy. Don't mention it. I'll help you eat. After a while, Lu Jisheng opened the door and entered the house. He saw Lu Qing sitting on the sofa with the lights off and the TV off, playing with his phone. His face was lit up by the flickering light of the screen. You young people can't live without your phones. Lu Qing's father shook his head and sighed. He turned on the lights and the whole house was lit up. Dad, Mom went to Aunt's house. We'll settle the dinner by ourselves. Lu Qing looked up with his phone in hand. Lu Jisheng pushed his gold-rimmed glasses. I know. I'll cook. As he spoke, his voice suddenly came to a halt. Lu Qing was stunned. He took a deep breath and said, How about we go to Grandpa's house? Okay. Lu Jisheng made a prompt decision, as if he had been waiting for this suggestion for a long time. The father and son did not need to pack up. They called Lu Debong and left immediately. On the way they stopped to buy soy sauce duck and sliced chicken as extra dishes. When he entered his grandfather's house, Lu Qing suddenly felt that the atmosphere was not right, because there were guests. A man and two women were sitting in the living room. They were chatting with Lu Debong, Lu Jiqiang, and Lu Yanwei, while Grandma and Second Aunt were busy preparing dinner in the kitchen. Jisheng, you're here. Come and take a look. Do you still remember Zijuan from old Zhao's family? He's doing well now. He's the deputy director of the police station on Feixia Road. Lu Debong smiled and pointed at the only man among the guests. Zijuan, I remember you. When we were young we always played together. Every time we played a game of cops and thieves he always wanted to be the police. Now he is really a police officer. Lu Jisheng was pleasantly surprised to see his childhood playmate. Old Zhao's family had been neighbors for a long time. Zhao Zijuan was in his 40s. He had a square face, short eyebrows and heavy eye bags. He stood up and patted Lu Jisheng. Jisheng, you still look like a scholar. Back then, whenever I was naughty, my father would use you as an example to lecture me. He said that he would be satisfied if I was half as good as you, other people's children. Lu Qing silently summarized for Zhao Zijuan. The other two were ladies but he didn't pay much attention to them. He just glanced around and found a girl in her early 20s with half of her hair in a bun. She looked quiet and uneasy. His cousin, Lu Yanwei, didn't have his usual eloquence and seemed to be restless. Well, it's not a meeting between old neighbors. It's a blind date. Lu Qing suddenly understood. He walked to Lu Yanwei with interest and patted him on the shoulder. This was the first time he had encountered a blind date. It seemed that Lu Qing's ambition scared second uncle and the others, so they sped up the blind date. They came directly to him without making any arrangements. Lu Yanwei looked at his cousins sadly, and did not dare to say anything. This is my wife Huang Kun. This is my maid Zhao Qian. She is a language teacher in number 3 primary school. Is that your son? After catching up, Zhao Zijuan introduced his family. Lu Jisheng smiled. Yes, Lu Qing. He is still studying. Is he in university? Where do I read it? Zhao Zijuan asked casually. Songqing University, Lu Jisheng answered proudly. Very good. He is like you in this aspect. Zhao Zijuan did not ask more about Lu Qing because he was not the main character today. After they sat down they continued to chat. Their topics were focused on Lu Yanwei's current job, Zhao Qian's situation, and Lu Jiqiang's previous canteen contract. Lu Qing could tell that his second uncle had been repeatedly reminded that he would not use a second sentence if he could answer with one sentence, so as to avoid accidentally saying something hurtful. They talked from before dinner until dinner. Lu Qing did not say a word and played the role of a normal person eating meat, chicken, duck, pork ribs and eggplant diligently. The male and female protagonists were robbed of the limelight by their parents, so they could only answer questions in silence. Lu Qing could feel the awkwardness between them even with his toes. Well, he tested absolute reaction this morning and found that there was no such thing. Was it by accident that he caught the thief? That's not right. That feeling was very obvious. I was in a deep sleep at that time, but I was awake during the test. Was that the difference? Lu Qing, who was lost in his thoughts, found the atmosphere a little cold and subtle. It seemed that the Zhao family was not satisfied with Lu Yanwei's situation. After dinner, Zhao Zijuan did not stay long. He said that he had something to do and left with Huang Kun and Zhao Qian. He did not let Lu Jiqiang and Lu Yanwei see him off. After the guests left, the Lu family fell into a short and depressing silence. After a few minutes, Lu Cheng's second aunt, Wang Lily, hit Lu Yanwei and said with a sobbing voice, 2 or 3 years ago when our family was still strong, would old Zhao not like you? Wei, people have to accept their fate. Some people are destined to be rich and some are destined to live a stable life. Don't worry about it. Work hard and make progress. Lu Yanwei pursed his lips tightly and said nothing. He stood there stubbornly, his round face full of gloom. Well, don't talk about it. Let him do whatever he wants. We can't afford it anyway. Lu Jiqiang shouted. His hair seemed to be getting whiter and whiter. If I had known this would happen, I wouldn't have come for dinner. Lu Qing felt a headache. He looked at his father and found that he felt the same. Even an honest official can't solve a family matter. It was his second uncle's problem, so he couldn't get involved. Don't talk about it. You can do whatever you want. The old master waved his hand and sighed. He walked back to the sofa and sat down watching TV in silence. Lu Cheng's grandmother and second aunt started to clean up the table. Lu Jiqiang sat on the single sofa. Lu Yanwei wanted to say something but couldn't. He walked back to his room gloomily. Dad, I'm going to talk to my brother, Lu Qing said in a low voice. Go talk to him. Lu Jisheng knew that his son had matured quickly in the past half year, so he nodded with relief. Lu Qing knocked on the door and entered the dark room. He sat on the computer chair and looked at Lu Yanwei who was lying on the bed. Brother, what do you want to do this time? He had heard him mention it before. Lu Yanwei said sullenly, I used to run a restaurant. I saw that the takeout business in Xioshan is booming, so I want to open a restaurant that doesn't have a shop. It won't cost too much. Speaking of this, he opened his mouth. He sat up and said in pain and confusion, Qing, do you know what's the most painful thing for a person? It's that I can't see any hope. I go to work on time every day and earn 2,000 or 3,000 yuan a month. I won't starve to death, but I can't see any hope. Today is the same as yesterday and tomorrow will be the same. I want a house, no. I want a car, no. I don't know when I can earn enough money with this little salary. Should I rely on my parents? I don't want to suffer, but I don't want to be like this for the rest of my life. Lu Qing listened quietly and thought that if he was in this situation, he would be in the same pain and struggle. But you can't just do it casually, right? You have to do some research and see the prospects before you do it. Lu Qing said in another way. Lu Yanwei was stunned and said, I think it can be done. Many people in our company order takeout. You can't just rely on your feelings. Lu Qing complained and took out his phone to ask his life coach, Coach Yan. Yan Zhika replied with both hands supporting her chin, I haven't done this kind of research. Since your cousin wants to do it, he must do a good job of positioning and investigation. For example, where is the takeout area he is targeting, how many restaurants there are, and whether they are popular. Lu Qing translated her suggestions into his own words and told his cousin. Lu Yanwei, who only had high school education, was stunned. In the end he said, Qing, you know this? I don't know, but some of my classmates do. Lu Qing answered proudly. Coach Yan is awesome. Well, I'll figure out these things first. Lu Yanwei suddenly found that he had no idea at all. He had taken it for granted before. Ningshui Qi Yan's house. Qi Yunfei was lying on the bed, watching a video leisurely with her legs crossed. Sister, what are you watching? Qin Xiaoxiao walked in while drying her hair. Qi Yunfei laughed and said, Brother Lu Cheng's competition video? Super handsome. Brother Lu Cheng? Competition video? Qin Xiaoxiao was confused. See for yourself. Qi Yunfei pushed the tablet in front of her. I'm drying my hair. Qin Xiaoxiao muttered. She stopped what she was doing and looked over. A few minutes later she said in surprise, Is this really Brother Lu Cheng? How powerful and awe-inspiring. Yes. Chi Yunfei held her chin and said happily, I'm almost becoming a brother complex. If Ding Yanba is half as good as brother Lu Cheng, I'll be satisfied. Her eyes were shining as she imagined the future. After leaving Grandpa's house, they took a car back to the entrance of the community. Lu Jisheng and Lu Cheng were about to enter when they suddenly saw a notice posted in a conspicuous place. Police Department Class A Wanted Order. Lu Jisheng read the title. Lu Cheng looked at the following content. 3 cases of family extermination. Zhan Shuming on the run. Male professional 7th pin. Chapter 238. Professional 7th pin? Lu Qing narrowed his eyes and looked up at the photo in the wanted poster. He found that Zhan Shuming had a baby face, a gentle face and a gentle temperament. He didn't have the viciousness and cruelty of the murderer of the 3 cases of family extermination. A professional 7th pin fighter at the age of 32. Although he was not a god's favored son and had no hope of reaching the physical invulnerability stage, he still had the possibility of reaching the inhuman stage. He belonged to the upper middle class in the martial arts world. No matter which big city he was in, he could live a comfortable life. Why would he take the risk and become a fugitive? Out of anger? A hero breaking the law with martial arts? Practicing a unique skill and suffering from Qigong deviation? Many thoughts flashed through Lu Cheng's mind, but they quickly went back to normal and disappeared without a trace. For a fight at this level, he couldn't reach it even if he jumped up and stretched out his hand. There was no need to waste his energy. He just needed to remind his relatives and friends to keep it a secret and try to call the police later. Otherwise they wouldn't even know how they died. Is a professional 7th pin fighter very powerful? Lu Jisheng asked. He was very clear about the difference between professional martial artists and amateur martial artists. He also knew how terrifying martial artists in the upper 3 ranks were. However, for the rest of the ranks he had no idea how big the gap between each rank was. Very powerful. It's not a problem for him to beat 2 or 3 of me. Lu Qing explained to his dad with himself as a reference. If you see him, just ignore it and call the police when he's far away. I'm not stupid. If it were another fugitive of amateur 7th pin, I wouldn't dare to call the police. Lu Jisheng laughed and answered casually. You're right. I'm thinking too much. Lu Qing shook his head and smiled. He didn't say more and walked home with his dad. After he took a shower and changed the sheets, he lay down and felt the softness and comfort. Suddenly he received a call from Yenjika. Ko, what's wrong? He didn't know what happened and asked nervously. We were chatting just now. Yenjika enjoyed the pure concern from the heart. She smiled and said, Can't I call you for nothing? Lu Qing relaxed and chuckled. Did you miss me? Humph, you've become thick-skinned again. Yenjika pouted playfully. Did you see the arrest warrant? Yes, I did. What's the problem? Lu Cheng's heart skipped a beat. Ku specifically called to tell him about this matter. She definitely didn't just want to gossip. Yenjika stopped smiling and said, according to reliable sources, he fled to a nearby area. That's why there are so many wanted posters. Lu Qing said thoughtfully. What's the matter with Zhan Shuming? Why were there 3 cases of family extermination? It's said to be revenge. Yenjika chose her words carefully. His parents were also martial artists. In his early years, they were forced to death by a local dance stage Mighty One for some unknown reason. After he became successful in martial arts, he always wanted to seek justice. However, the Mighty One was an elder of a province with deep political and business connections. He even had some connections with a physical invulnerability master. The case was delayed again and again with no progress. Many people looked for him, hoping that he could reconcile. He turned hostility into friendship. Lu Qing could hear the indignation and disdain in his girlfriend's tone. He agreed with her and said, It's easy for those people to say that. So Zhan Shuming decided to take the risk? Yes, Qing, don't laugh at me. I just put myself in his shoes and thought that if my parents were forced to death like this, I definitely wouldn't give up. Just like the idiom, I can't live under the same sky. Yenjika sighed and said, Zhan Shuming pretended to accept reality and softened his attitude. When the Mighty One let down his guard, he came in the middle of the night and killed his enemy's entire family of 11. Then he went all the way south, hoping to escape to the war-torn areas. However, the police department took this case very seriously and specially sent a high-ranked dance stage Mighty One with supernatural tracking ability and a criminal investigation expert to lead the arrest. They blocked his escape route several times and almost caught him last week. Is this only one case of family extermination? Lu Qing asked sharply. Yanjika took a deep breath and said, maybe because he was in a desperate situation and couldn't see any hope of escaping, Zhang Shuming had a mental breakdown and became crazy. During this time he committed 2 cases of family extermination in a row, targeting martial artist families with deep political and business connections. Moreover, the victims were all innocent people who had nothing to do with him. At first, I sympathized with him and admired him, thinking that he had the style of an ancient hero. Sigh, vent anger? The closer he was to death, the crazier he became? Lu Qing said worriedly, Ku, your family should be careful too. His girlfriend's family was definitely a martial artist family with deep political and business connections, and Zhang Shuming had recently appeared in the surrounding areas. That's why I called you. My mom went on a business trip as planned, but she was worried that something might happen at home, so she asked Aunt Lu and her family to stay with us temporarily. Yanjika said pitifully, Aunt Lu will accompany me for my morning exercise tomorrow. I can't go with you and eat zongzi with you. This was what they had agreed on and he was looking forward to it. However, it was all ruined by Zhang Shuming. 'Cause Aunt Lu was a professional 7th pin mighty one. Lu Qing was relieved and said, safety is the most important thing. I just feel sorry for that family of zongzi. They missed the favor of the little fairy several times in a row. Yanjika was amused and her mood improved a lot. Her voice became gentle and she said in a low voice, then would you like to send zongzi to the little fairy tomorrow? Of course. Lu Qing answered without hesitation. Disgusting. Yanjika laughed and scolded him. She said sweetly, Qing, in fact, I have to cancel tomorrow's arrangement and postpone many things. I don't know when I can do it. Well, and then? Lu Qing was a little confused. What did Ku want to say? And then? Yanjika said shyly, idiot. What I want to say is. She suddenly lowered her voice and scratched Lu Qing's ear. I do miss you, beep. She hung up the phone as soon as she finished speaking, as if she was afraid that Lu Qing would turn into Sadako and go through the phone screen. Beep beep beep. Lu Qing smiled foolishly and recalled it again and again. He hated that he didn't have the habit of recording the call. At 5 o'clock the next day, Lu Qing went to Xiusha No. 1 middle school to practice, so that he could buy zongzi and go to Backwater Lake later. He completed the daily practice step by step and the internal vibration training with the medicinal soup. In the end, he set aside half an hour to imitate the operation pattern of the Jin Dan. Lu Qing calmed down and sensed the expansion and contraction of the bright nebula. Based on his previous experience, he gradually had a grasp of the operation pattern of the Jin Dan. Spin. The key word was spin. In general terms, the 2 contradictory forces of ice and fire repelled each other and then transformed each other. Finally, they reached a delicate balance and kept spinning around a certain point. The reaction was the slow rotation of the vast nebula. In detail, the ice crystal rotated around the flame, and the flame rotated around the core of the nebula formed by the interaction. Layer by layer, it was like the movement of celestial bodies. Once the rotation stopped, the Jindan would definitely collapse with a violent explosion and completely collapse. Spin. To put it simply, let the chi, blood, spirit and force rotate around a certain point to form a balanced and restrained big Dan of the human body and complete the withdrawal attempt. This point should be my martial arts will. Lu Qing thought and had a rough idea. When I haven't found and formed my own martial arts will, I can use the Jindan as a fulcrum to experiment and see if it works. After analyzing that it wouldn't be too dangerous, Lu Qing calmed down and got into a good posture. Then he closed his eyes and concentrated his spirit and chi. He focused all his spirit on the Jindan to stimulate the chi and blood, and then used the chi and blood to guide the force. When his spirit synchronized with the operation of the Jindan, his whole body suddenly shook and he felt that the rotation of the Jindan suddenly accelerated. Boom. His chi, blood and force were stimulated, and then his spirit suddenly shrank inwards as if it was circling. His body strangely showed a sense of emptiness and stillness. The shrinkage was only temporary, and the force that was far from pure and penetrating quickly bounced back and spurted out, driving Lu Qing to punch forward. Bam! The air seemed to explode, and the pure force of the body stirred up a gust of wind. Lu Qing opened his eyes and looked at his fist, but didn't think about anything. Instead he looked at the path on the left. At the moment when his spirit shrank he had a strange feeling. Without relying on his ears or eyes, he felt that someone was coming from that direction. This was very similar to the experience of the absolute reaction, when he caught the thief. A few seconds later Lu Qing heard footsteps. After a while he saw a middle school student on a morning jog pass by. Someone is really coming. Lu Qing took a breath and murmured to himself. As for the absolute reaction from before, he more or less understood what was going on. When he was awake, many distracting thoughts interfered with the operation of the Jindan, so it couldn't exert its own characteristics. When he fell into deep sleep and had fewer thoughts, it showed something similar to the absolute reaction, or even more powerful, similar to the ice mirror. He used to sleep in the dormitory at home and beside Yenjika. He didn't encounter any malicious things, so he didn't feel anything in his dreams until he encountered the thief. As for the feeling just now, it should be the result of the combination of this characteristic and the withdraw ability of the Dan stage. Lu Qing shook his head. He felt that after the withdraw ability, his body was sore and his head was swollen. He had to rely on the hot flow of the Jindan to calm his tiredness. Breaking through to the Dan stage is not something that can be done in a day or two. Even if I use the Jindan as a cheat to achieve the withdraw ability, I can't really rely on it to achieve the withdraw ability before the force in my body is completely refined and the exuberant qi and blood turns inward. Lu Qing warmed up his muscles and bones, feeling a little happy and a little sad. Well, I can't always rely on the Jindan to cheat. I can't forget my original purpose. I'm using this experience again and again to understand and master the withdraw ability. Then I'll use the martial arts will as a fulcrum to master the unique force concentration. As for the martial arts will, I'm still at a loss. Lu Qing exhaled deeply, feeling that the Dan stage was still a long way to go. Succeed? I've just started. Chapter 239. After a few minutes of rest, Lu Qing jogged to the front gate of Xiushan No. 1 Middle School. Following the usual path, he found the stall selling zongzi with a cart, against the direction of the third-year students who were still in class. 3 white zongzi, 2 spicy ones and 1 brown sugar one. The stall owner was a middle-aged man with a limp on his right foot. He had a bright smile, but apparently he didn't recognize Lu Qing as the high school student who used to patronize him. Lu Qing took out his phone, took a picture and sent it to Yenjika. I'm working on it. I'm looking forward to it. Yenjika replied. I'm waiting for you, Lu Qing smiled. After the stall owner finished, he paid the money and ran to Backwater Lake with the zongzi in his hand. He didn't take a taxi. It was now the morning rush hour. In recent years, Xiushan's economic development had been good. Many citizens had bought cars, and the old municipal roads could no longer meet this situation. Naturally, traffic jams were inevitable. That was why Qin Rue said that many roads in Xiushan were expanding, and many places were being demolished. Under such conditions at such a time and such a distance, Lu Qing felt that the number 11 bus was faster than the car because he had been sprinting at full speed. He ran a few kilometers like he was running 100 meters. Training and fun. When he arrived at the outskirts of the villa area, he stopped and sent a message to Yenjika with a straight face. Hello, your exclusive delivery boy has arrived. Beep. Yenjika didn't want to miss the message, so she didn't take a shower after the morning exercise. Now she picked up her phone and looked at it. When she saw this, she couldn't help but burst into laughter. Her face was like a flower as she quickly typed on the keyboard. Good. After replying, she raised her head and looked at Lu Xiaolin, who was sipping hot porridge. She pursed her lips and gathered her courage. Aunt Lu Qing sent me something. I'll go and get it. Aunt Lu knew about her, so she had to show her sincerity. Yenjika's father was on duty last night and hadn't come home yet. Lu Xiaolin's husband went to the company after breakfast. Their child stayed in bed and planned to have lunch. There were only 2 of them in the living room and dining room. Qing? Lu Xiaolin put down the hot porridge and asked in confusion. Yenjika blushed. He's Lu Qing, my boyfriend? This was the first time she had mentioned Lu Qing as her boyfriend in front of the elders. At first she felt a little guilty, but as she spoke she felt a kind of certainty and joy. Lu Xiaolin came to herself and stared at Yenjika for a few seconds. She found that Yenjika didn't flinch or dodge. I'll follow you. Lu Xiaolin nodded slowly and added, it'll be fine after a few days. The current Ke really resembled the youngest uncle back then. The only difference was that one looked like a stubborn girl, while the other was soft on the outside but tough on the inside. At that time she was still a child and didn't really understand. But now, as a wife and mother, she understood very well. Okay. Yenjika nodded obediently. Thank you, Aunt Lu. The two of them went out of the gate of the community and crossed the road. Lu Xiaolin stayed a few steps away and did not approach. Because of the elders' stares, Lu Qing and Yenjika felt a lot of pressure and were quite uncomfortable. Lu Qing resisted the urge to hug the girl and hold her hand. He handed the dumplings to her and tried to ignore Lu Xiaolin's existence. Little fairy, please sign here. Little fairy? Yenjika looked back at Lu Xiaolin with a guilty conscience. Her white cheeks immediately turned red. If Aunt Lu heard this kind of self-boasting title, how could she raise her head in front of her in the future? Lu Xiaolin stood there quietly and observed the surroundings. There was no abnormality in her expression. Phew. Yenjika breathed a sigh of relief and took the dumplings. She said in a low voice, "It's so disgusting. What if Aunt Lu heard it?" "It doesn't matter if she heard it. I'm telling the truth." Lu Qing took the opportunity to sweet talk. Yenjika's eyes flashed and she rolled her eyes at him. Then she became emotional and said reluctantly, "I should go back. I'll be fine after a few days." Just as she finished speaking, she suddenly heard a low thunder sound in Lu Qing's body. "How can you do internal vibration training like this?" Yenjika blurted out. She found Lu Qing's face turned red and was quite embarrassed. She suddenly realized. She covered her mouth and laughed, leaning forward and backward. "Are you hungry?" So hungry that it was like thunder. "Yes." Lu Qing answered with embarrassment. He was so focused on sending the dumplings earlier that he forgot about his share. Yenjika suppressed her laughter and said with half anger and half happiness, "When you buy the dumplings, don't you eat some first?" My brain short-circuited and I forgot. Lu Qing said with a hollow laugh. "Forgot." Yenjika repeated these two words in a low voice. She looked at the dumplings in her hand and her eyes were full of tenderness. She secretly looked behind and found Aunt Lu was looking around and didn't pay attention to her and Lu Qing. She took out a pair of disposable chopsticks, broke a dumplings, mixed some seasonings, picked up a piece and put it in front of her boyfriend's mouth. She hummed, "Here, sister will give you a bite." While speaking, she turned her head and looked at the street tree next to them. Lu Qing was surprised and happy. He put the dumplings in his mouth and wolfed them down. He said happily, "Delicious. Don't talk. Focus on eating." Yenjika blushed and quickly fed him. Fortunately, Aunt Lu was not looking at them now. After feeding him quickly, she pursed her lips and looked at Lu Qing softly. She waved her hand and turned to Lu Xiaolin. Lu Qing wanted to pull her back, but he had to force himself to watch her and Aunt Lu walking into the neighborhood. At this moment, Yenjika was so guilty that she didn't dare to look at Lu Xiaolin. She was talking about all kinds of irrelevant things. Why was I so bold just now? In broad daylight, in front of so many people, I took the initiative to feed Qing. Lu Xiaolin listened with a smile and answered a few words from time to time. She didn't seem to notice that they were whispering sweet nothings. Well, it seems that Aunt Lu respects privacy and deliberately ignored our interaction. Yenjika felt relieved and said happily, "Aunt Lu, I'm going to take a shower." Lu Xiaolin nodded and sat on the chair in the bedroom. She asked with confusion, "Your parents are not here. Why don't you just invite him in? It's not good to do that in public." "That look just now. That look." Yenjika covered her face and rushed into the bathroom. "I'm an ostrich. I'm an ostrich." When the sound of water splashing could be heard, Lu Xiaolin revealed a faint smile and whispered to herself, "Little fairy." Young people nowadays. At 8 o'clock in the evening, Lu Qing was chatting with Yenjika and browsing the forum when he suddenly received a call from Director Xing. "Hello, Uncle Xing?" His heart skipped a beat as he vaguely had an idea. Is it about Wang Su's case tomorrow afternoon or Zhan Xuming's case? Xing Chengwu sighed and went straight to the point. "Lu, Uncle Xing is here to ask for your help." "What is it? Just tell me." Lu Qing always remembered other people's kindness. "Have you seen the arrest warrant?" Director Xing asked. "It's about Zhan Xuming. But how can I help?" Lu Qing answered frankly, "Yes, I've seen it and asked people. I know what he did and what he did." Director Xing, who knew his master's background, was not surprised. He laughed and said, "Just now someone called the police and said they saw Zhan Xuming on the street of the bar. We verified it and found that it's true. The high-ranked dance stage expert and the other members of the task force will arrive at midnight at the earliest." "Uncle Xing, do you mind if I tell you the truth? I really want to help you, but Zhan Xuming is of professional 7th pin. I don't even know how to reach dance stage. I can't help you even if I want to. I'll be a burden to you." Lu Qing was shocked and said quickly. Zhan Xuming had appeared in Xioshan. After a year of experience and growth, Lu Qing didn't know how to refuse people anymore. He would help if he could, but if he couldn't, he knew his place and dared to say it. Director Xing laughed and said, "Don't worry, Lu. How can I let you deal with Zhan Xuming? If something were to happen, how am I supposed to face your master?" "Then what do you mean?" Lu Qing calmed down. Zhan Xuming's mental state is very dangerous now. I can foresee that he will continue to deal with the martial arts families with deep political and business connections. He will become crazier and crazier. But he is also very rational. Once the task force arrives, he won't stay for long. Director Xing said seriously, "We've compiled a list of people who need protection. I'll take the lead and handle this matter myself. Lu, in a small place like ours, there are limited masters. Even if the police force is stronger than the martial arts circle, it's only a few times stronger. According to the list, I've even invited 2 seniors, but the number of masters is still not enough." "You want me to join? How do I protect them?" Lu Qing asked in confusion. Xing Qingwu nodded and said, "Divide into groups and enter these people's houses to protect them. You'll be in charge of one group. Don't worry, I'll send 4 amateur first-pin police officers who are good at shooting to cooperate with you. I'll also approve the use of large-caliber guns and warning equipment. If you really meet Zhan Xuming, as long as you show your ability to not be defeated by him in 3 to 5 moves, he will definitely retreat. I'll be in charge of the support group and wait in the middle. If there's any movement, I'll be there immediately. Lu, I'll tell you the truth. If the situation is really dangerous, you don't need to care about others and retreat by yourself. With your strength, Zhan Xuming won't waste time chasing you." 4 amateur first-pin police officers who were good at shooting and had large-caliber guns were a big threat to professional 7th pin. Of course, the premise was that they could react in time. Lu Qing thought and asked in confusion, "Uncle Xing, why don't you gather these people for protection? Everyone lives in the auditorium. With you leading the patrol, Zhan Xuming won't have a chance." This was the safest and most appropriate way. "Well, I've also thought about this. First, it's already dark. I'm afraid Zhan Xuming will attack us halfway when we're moving. Second, it'll make us seem too afraid of him. We'll be too useless and lose face. And it'll have a bad influence on society. They're all famous people." Director Xing smiled bitterly. Lu Qing estimated the degree of danger, took a deep breath and said seriously, "I'm fine with it. Where should I go?" Ku had Aunt Lu and the backup police. If Zhan Xuming really attacked her, he would only die there. "You go to Guomin's house. It'll be fine after tonight." Xing Qingwu had already made arrangements. "Uncle Xing wants to thank you first." "Guomin? Isn't he the big boss of my dad's factory?" Lu Qing was stunned. "You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."